Alright, what's good everyone? I'm back with yet another stream. This time we're doing something that I don't think I've done in a while since, I mean, I think the last time I did something like this was when I went down the rabbit hole of educating myself on different VTubers with friends. And who knows, maybe I could include some friends in this if they want to join me for that. I could probably get in like one of the channels if they'd be down to watch with me. But yeah, this time we're just gonna be watching a couple of videos. Now I found this creator by the name of Patrick CC, and I think like quite a few of his like video essay or documentary like videos have been quite interesting. I'd usually have them on in the background while I'm doing something. Yes, I'm one of those people that'll do that. But it's very interesting to watch or to have on in the background. But yeah, let me just pull that up real quick. First I gotta stop this playlist for a second. And then I can switch to the right... Oh, first I gotta make sure... Okay, VTube Studio does not have that overlay. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this one is titled Why Modern SpongeBob Sucks. Or Modern SpongeBob Sucks. Now, I can remember quite the interesting time where... I think at the time it was like early 2010s, late 2000s when SpongeBob was going on quite the decline, and I could... Even younger me knew that there was something off about the other seasons. Like, they just did not match up to seasons 1 through 3 in quality, and not many things really stood out to me. And then I would hear about more of a... I would hear about, like, more vocal dislike towards this, and I'm like... Yeah, this is starting to make sense now. Not that I would follow the crowd, it just wasn't sure how to put it into words, but some people were better at putting it into words than I am. But anyway, let's take a look at this.
Modern SpongeBob sucks.
I think this is referring to like that same era that I was talking about. I have no idea how it's been in the times that after Steven Hillenburg had passed, but I think it really puts into perspective how there are just a lot of shows that should not just continue running, otherwise they'll overstay their welcome. Anyways.
Stories lack meaning. Every character has been flattened into a single exaggerated personality trait.
Oh yeah, that was a big issue too.
Looks way too polished, and the endless amount of spin-offs are just plain disrespectful.
This also brings something to mind that I don't know if he's going to bring this up later, but there was this huge debate on whether or not Steven Hillenburg would have approved of this, because I remember some saying that he had no plans for spin-offs at all, and then some saying that he did, and the people saying that he didn't intend to do this are like making him roll in his grave, but we'll never know because unfortunately he's no longer with us.
Nickelodeon has squeezed every last doubloon they possibly can out of that sponge.
This is 100% accurate.
We grew up. The decline of SpongeBob SquarePants can be traced back to one specific moment in 2005, because the creator of the show, Steven Hillenburg, never wanted the show to continue after season 3.
And I would agree with him, because I feel like the movie was a good enough finale as it is. And that brings up an interesting view that I tend to have about a lot of shows, is that I think it's best to leave them wanting more rather than to have it continue going on. But a lot of the time, greed will get in the way. And that kind of shows that... This also shows to me that everything has a shelf life. And I think it's important that some of the shows that I think it's important that some of the shows don't last forever, because that can bring up the because that can put the perspective of everything having a shelf life to yourself as well. It's important to realize that not everything is going to last forever, and if something does last forever, I don't know what to tell you. It's confusing to compare like media and like a person, but it's important to remember that not everything is meant to last forever, and to appreciate things while you still have them.
Once Hillenburg stepped away, and especially after his
It
death,
got like really deep. I apologize.
the network transformed SpongeBob into a content machine that totally ignores the vision and the soul of its original creator.
Yeah,
Am I
that's
really gonna defile this grave for money? Of course I am!
The
great clip selection, by the way.
story of SpongeBob isn't about the animation, it's about the animator, because like most creations, the humans behind them are often what make them so special. The greatest Nickelodeon show of all time wasn't created by some animation expert or a corporate product design team. He was a marine biologist who liked to create weird little sea creatures in his free time. Steven Hillenburg wasn't a big dreamer.
So fascinating.
He didn't have Hollywood aspirations. He was very grounded and rooted in reality, which is why he never thought that being an artist was a real career path. Lucky for him, he was also extremely interested in marine science. His practical life plan was that he could get a job in his field and maybe get to express his inner artist here and there.
I was minoring in art, and I had teachers in the art department saying, "What are you doing? Why aren't you in the art school?" I guess I thought, well, I do this, I like marine biology and science, and I'm an artist, so I'll end up making exhibits or working at a museum or something. I just immediately put the two together.
Yeah. What were you painting? Were you painting sort of realistic, classical realism of fish?
Weird, these weird, surreal landscapes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with humans.
After college, Steve
I will unfortunately never be able to know Steven Hillenburg truly, but I feel like he'd be a very interesting guy to have a conversation with. I would just love to hear about the fascination that he would have with marine biology.
got a job at the Ocean Institute in California. He enjoyed teaching children about marine life around Dana Point, where he spent a lot of his time studying invertebrates in coastal tide pools, which consisted of aquatic animals without backbones like starfish, crabs, octopi, and the sea sponge.
Some of these I've like no familiarity with, but I'm curious.
One day, Steve's boss asked him if he could use his artistic skills to make a comic book project for incoming children. Steve didn't realize
this
then,
I remember.
but he just casually made the blueprint for one of the most successful cartoons of all time. After that, for years, he contemplated pursuing a career in art because all of his free time went to creating sculptures, drawings, and even films. But he still loved marine science and the consistent, reliable paycheck that came with his job. But then
And
in
thus
the early
the two
90s,
combined.
his work got recognized by Nickelodeon showrunner Joe Murray, who gave Steven a job as an animation director for Rocko's Modern Life at the network. While working at
Shout out
Nick,
to
one
Joe
of his
Murray for
co-animators
allowing
read
this to
the
happen.
Intertitle Zone comic he made 5 years earlier and convinced
Unfortunately, I missed out on Rocko's Modern Life, but I should really get around to watching some more episodes of that.
Steve to try to build his own show from it.
And then Martin was looking at the intertitle comic that I had, and he said, "What, are you crazy? This is your show right here."
Steve developed early concepts starting with the main character, Sponge Boy. Steve loved how resilient sea
Good old
sponges
Sponge
are.
Boy.
They've done studies where people
Who could
put
forget
them in
dear
a blender
Sponge Boy?
only for the sea sponge to return to its natural form and stay alive. He could use Sponge Boy as a flexible character that could morph into crazy shapes, but he felt that it would be funnier if he resembled a kitchen sponge rather than an actual sea sponge, hence the square shape. Now Steve wanted this character to be an adult.
I wonder if it would have landed the same if SpongeBob was shaped like a sea sponge.
But to have a childlike innocence, no hate in his heart, and oftentimes no adult logic to prevent him from getting into silly situations.
I would say the show is really about life.
After they learned Sponge Boy was already
What's
copyrighted, he chose the names.
What's this?
I'm doing one of the Rare Watchalong Wednesdays, Momo. Now let me just switch to the right layout for this since you're here.
Sure. I'm curious
Found it-
about the watch along one.
I found a couple of videos by this creator by the name of Patrick CC. He's done like these
Okay.
mini documentaries slash video essays, and watching one that was titled like "Why Modern SpongeBob Sucks." Do you remember the time when that was like a huge topic a decade ago?
Yes, actually, I do.
I imagine that's what he's referring to, because I don't know like how much worse it has gotten like after Steven Hillenburg had passed, but we'll see what this touches upon.
SpongeBob SquarePants. And what's
There's a
incredible is
few
how much
rare good
every single detail in
episodes.
the show was intentionally inspired
Yeah,
by his
there are.
marine science background.
What is he living in a pineapple? Why is he living in a pineapple? And then, first of all, my logic was, it's Hawaiiana. The pineapple in some cultures represents friendship. Like in England, I think you'll see a door knocker.
It's all over
Yeah.
because that meant
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah, it makes sense that he would live in the pineapple,
Mhm.
right? Because he.
Also, to quote Mrs. Puff in Battle for Bikini Bottom, "Don't ask questions you aren't prepared to handle the answer to."
He's friendly.
Every aspect of the show was loosely
Okay,
logical
before we go.
and funny at the same time. SpongeBob's closest friend is a starfish named Patrick Star, who is the dumbest character of the show because actual starfish don't have brains. The owner of the Krusty Krab and SpongeBob's boss,
I happen to know a Patrick that does have a brain, but he's not a starfish. His brain is sometimes there, though. Patrick, if you're watching, I'm just joking.
Mr. Krabs, was based on the manager of a Maine seafood restaurant where Steve worked as a teenager. Mr. Krabs' entire identity surrounds his obsession with money and exploiting his workers and customers for profit. He's what people would call a bottom feeder, and crabs in real life feed on things at the bottom of the ocean. Sandy Cheeks is a squirrel from Texas who wears an astronaut suit that keeps her alive underwater. It was Steve's attempt at making a strong female character that embodied the adventurer spirit during the space missions to the moon overseen from Houston.
And I think it works.
Squidward Tentacles is actually Steve Hillenburg's way of joking about the other half of his real-life personality. He's a pretentious, aspiring artist, a mediocre band geek, and his name doesn't match his octopus body, representing the internal confusion with his own artistic identity.
Yeah, it wouldn't have landed if his name was Octoword.
Squidward's his name, but he's an octopus. I like the round head, but Squidward is funnier than Octoboy.
Squidward is this
Plus, it is like a play on the name Edward, so it's more clever.
curmudgeon, snotty, aloof, a wannabe artist. In a way, Squidward is the guy I can identify with most.
See, Squid belongs to some of those music societies,
Yeah, he
right?
probably-
The clarinet, undersea clarinet society. Yeah, he's into interpretive dance and any kind of snobbery incorporated, he would be into it.
I've heard a lot of people say that when we're kids we identify with SpongeBob, but as we grow older we identify with Squidward. Sometimes that can apply.
That is true.
Subscribes to Fancy Living Digest.
It
Anything
definitely
that
has applied
SpongeBob's
to me.
not into, Squidward probably into.
Steve got to be as creative and absurd as possible while creating his own show, and yet everything is there for a reason. While SpongeBob lives in a friendly pineapple, Squidward lives in an Easter Island head that plays on his big-headed ambitions. Patrick is an idiot who literally lives under a rock. Mr. Krabs
How did I just now realize that? Literally living under a rock.
Sorry, rewind that.
That Patrick is literally lives under a rock, and I didn't know that was also a play on words with the term living under a rock, the metaphor or the idiom.
runs a restaurant shaped like a giant
He really
lobster
does
trap,
live under
along
a
with living at
rock.
home with his whale daughter, Pearl, in
I don't think the fact that Krabs' daughter is a whale is ever going to be. I don't think that's ever going to be addressed, or like who the mother is.
an anchor. Plankton owns the Chum Bucket restaurant that is always empty. Chum in real life is bait made out of dead fish to
Okay.
attract sharks. Since Plankton
Okay, since it's blurred, I think it should still not get the stream taken down. But that makes sense as to why nobody goes for Chum. Now that I think about it. I mean, would you eat at a restaurant that just has ground up human?
Nope.
Your choices are McDonald's or ground up human at a low effort restaurant with computers.
potential customers are all fish, they probably don't want to partake in cannibalism.
Exactly.
Sandy lives in a dome under the sea, inverting the phrase fish out of water to a mammal out of the air, and the
I
town
like
they
how
live in
clever that
called
is.
Bikini Bottom. Most of us think about a bathing suit, however, it is also a dark humor reference to the Bikini Atoll nuclear site, which is located in the real-world country of the Marshall Islands.
Okay, this I
67
remember
nuclear
hearing about
weapons
briefly.
tests were carried out from 1946 to 1958, including the explosion of the first H-bomb. I personally love this detail because if there were talking sea creatures in a town in the ocean, it probably would have happened after nuclear radiation mutated all the living organisms. All of this is to say
Maybe they're real and we just don't notice that.
that Steve was arguably more of a pure artist than most traditional animators, and it's the loose logic that turns a good cartoon into a great cartoon. And even though Steve wasn't the most confident guy in the world, he knew he had a great idea, and he fought Nickelodeon hard
He definitely
to keep
did.
his idea from being destroyed. At the beginning, people give you notes and you have to fight back. It was a new show, and no one knows if a new show will work. Nick had decided it didn't want any more animal shows and wanted stories with kids, like Hey Arnold. They actually wanted to make Arnold Under the Sea and make SpongeBob a child. I said, no, that's not the show. In fact,
Yeah, let's not create a
Hillenburg almost
copycat
walked
there.
out and refused to work with Nickelodeon until they came to a compromise. SpongeBob would go to school like a child, but it would be a boat driving school for young adults taught by a character named Mrs. Puff. And although the fandom now loves Mrs. Puff, this is the harsh reality of working with a corporation. You have to make
Oh, boy.
concessions for the sake of making your bosses and executives happy, which is something that Hillenburg would grow extremely tired of in the coming years. But creating the animated world is only half the battle. Steve now needed the right voice actors to
Oh, let me go back to that
but
for a
creating
second.
the animated world is only half the battle.
So, fun fact.
G.I. Joe.
What?
Sorry.
So, fun fact. When I was like a teen, I would find some of the assets from the SpongeBob PC games, which would pretty much just straight up be a lot of the painted backgrounds, and I'd find out how to convert those into JPEGs and PNGs. So if I wanted to, with OBS, I could put myself on one of these backgrounds.
You should totally try that one. You should do that for a SpongeBob stream, actually.
I'll even load up the talking fish head VTuber model that I found. It's pretty much just
Yes.
that talking fish, but I made sure to color the suit red and add a fedora on top of him. I wonder how well that would work.
I'd like to see that.
I might as well do that.
Steve now needed the right voice actors to bring these characters to life. He chose Tom Kenny, who voiced Heifer in Rocco's Modern
Shout out to
Life,
Tom
for
Kenny.
SpongeBob's voice. Tom later admitted that
Absolute
SpongeBob's
legend.
high-pitched voice was inspired by a real-life little person who was angry about being typecast as an
I remember
elf.
this story.
There was one guy at the audition. He was, in a different part of the corridor.
Warning, chat. This will be hearing SpongeBob curse if you're not ready for that.
Yeah. And he was hanging with a couple of his buds.
Yeah.
And just the most bitter, ticked off little person in an elf outfit you've ever seen.
So this is the only, if it wasn't for the Christmas shit, I wouldn't f***ing work.
Oh,
This is
never
the
mind,
only
it's
time of
bleeped
the
out.
year that I f***ing work. It pisses me off. It's like, I'm glad to have it.
But the clip is out there.
It's like,
And I was just like, wow. And I told Steve Hillenburg that story. Years go by.
Yeah.
And he remembered that story. I'd totally even forgotten
Yeah.
the story because
Yeah.
it was something that happened to you on a day, and then you tell people that
Sure.
you run into that day,
It's
and then you
hilarious.
kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
There is a compilation out there of like multiple of the different SpongeBob voice actors actually cursing.
And he said, remember that guy? So
that's kind of where SpongeBob came from, sort of like a munchkin, like a...
without the negativity.
Tom was the perfect voice for the role, and Hillenburg somehow managed to assemble a ton of underrated voice actors who gave each character an iconic vocal identity.
Everyone's here. We got the voice of Patrick. I don't remember. I know his first name is Bill, but I don't remember how to pronounce his last name. We got Roger Bumpus, the voice of Squidward. Mr. Lawrence, the voice of Plankton and Larry the Lobster. Clancy Brown, the voice of Mr. Krabs, and Carolyn Lawrence, the voice of Sandy. Or I could be getting the name wrong, but I know that's the voice of Sandy.
To play Plankton. Kaboom! Larry, the
Come eat at the Chum Bucket.
lobster. Hey.
Also I didn't know he played both characters.
No!
Oh, he's also Fred.
I'm on Team Crab.
Who could forget Fred?
Fred. My leg!
No!
My leg!
I'm on Team Crabs for life.
Hey, team? Oh, pick me! We're out of Krabby Patties right now.
Yeah, hang on, you see
Crabs for life.
You see how difficult his last name looks how to pronounce?
Yes.
That's the problem that I have.
Team? Pick me! We're out of Krabby Patties right now. Well, Plankton, like a reheated Krabby Patty, you've been foiled again.
Roger Bumpus is also the voice of Dib's father in Invader Zim.
I'll have 2 Krabby Patties.
Yeah, Carolyn
extra
Lawrence,
ketchup,
I was right.
Extra mustard, and hold the mayo.
Prioritizing the art style over traditional storytelling, filling the cast with bizarre characters, and making the tone intentionally chaotic sounded like a disaster for a new kids show.
Some of those screenshots would end up as Josh's usual profile picture.
Nickelodeon executives, SpongeBob probably looked less like the future of children's television and more like an unmarketable experiment. But Steve didn't care. I was definitely interested in making a world that was different to anything on the air and to what had existed before. It was also to do with my interest in the ocean and background as a marine biologist. And I was
that really
conscious
helped
of
it stand
creating
out.
something that I wanted to be my own. The SpongeBob SquarePants universe was the result of one guy's deeply personal creative vision, which ironically was about to make these corporate suits filthy rich. In
Oh boy.
1999, SpongeBob SquarePants debuted on Nickelodeon and was an instant success. The pilot was called Help Wanted, along with 2 other sister episodes or episodes within an episode called Reef Blower and Tea at the Tree Dome.
Reef Blower, the one episode that has no dialogue whatsoever other than SpongeBob pointing at something with a caption that says "you."
And right away, it was clear
But
that
no
the
dialogue
show
is
wasn't
spoken.
following the traditional rules of another animated series. For starters, Steve chose to introduce Bikini Bottom in a French accent. The reason behind the voice came from a French oceanographer, Jacques Cousteau, who was the first person on TV to inspire Hillenburg
That's
to
where
be
that
a
comes
marine
from.
biologist.
Here we see Bikini Bottom, teeming with life, home of one of my favorite creatures, SpongeBob SquarePants. Yes, of course he lives in a pineapple, you silly.
And even
Goo Lagoon, where the sun is hot and the sun bathers are oh so cool.
for an animated show, SpongeBob was surprisingly colorful. The entire landscape was painted in light blues and greens with fine sand and rays of light all over to simulate the feeling of being underwater. But once again, if anything was beautiful or deep, it also came with something absurd to balance it out, like how the Hawaiian t-shirt flowers in the sky and sand looked like how they were drawn by a little kid, or how buildings in the backgrounds always looked like massive pieces of coral made out of metal. SpongeBob
now I
had
can
the
see
world's
that.
loudest foghorn alarm clock to make sure he was awake at the same time every day.
This had spawned so many people that would have the foghorn sound for their alarms. It's not mine, but I should do that. But instead I have a song that just like fades in so it can mess with my head if it turns out that I'm about to wake up and that song is playing. And like if there's a dream that's happening while that song is playing, I'm like, wait, no. I was enjoying the stream. Thank you, Six, for banning them, by the way.
He had a pet sea snail named Gary that was always annoyed and meowed like a cat. He had a closet full of the same exact SquarePants outfits.
And thank you
Instead
for
of
the
lifting
surety.
weights, he lifted stuffed animals to show he was extremely ambitious but adorably innocent. He hyped himself up, saying his signature catchphrase, "I'm ready," and his neighborhood friend Patrick popped out from his rock to support SpongeBob in his quest to
Chad,
live
are you
his
ready?
lifelong dream to be a fry cook at the Krusty Krab. Additionally, most animated shows at the time were drawn on model, meaning they stuck to a fixed style guide to maintain consistency from frame to frame. However, SpongeBob
Bought way too many
SquarePants was
energy drinks
created
from
using
Walmart.
off-model animation,
Oh
meaning
boy.
that every time you looked at SpongeBob, he was never exactly the same. His tie could be smaller, his face could be longer, his teeth could be bigger, but most importantly, his body and face was essentially elastic, so he could be stretched and transformed to literally wear his emotions.
It's weird that when he's talking about a lot of the classic episodes, there's also some season 4 episodes from after the movie was released. Because like this is all taking place before the movie.
Which meant that the writers didn't just have to rely on dialogue to tell their story or
And I'm pretty sure that was a later episode. This one I'm sure is season 2 or season 3.
prove their point. They could visually tell stories
Another
by
later
changing
one.
SpongeBob's physical form. And beyond off-model, Hillenburg
Also,
stories
meme detected.
by changing SpongeBob's
It's that mocking meme right there.
physical form. And beyond off-model, Hillenburg's SpongeBob wasn't afraid to use really impressive sketching and painting to add drama.
This looks like another image that I'm sure would be a very common profile picture.
To the scene. For example, when SpongeBob and Patrick meet Sandy in Tea in the Tree Dome, SpongeBob spends his first time in open air. Patrick makes SpongeBob believe that
This would be me visiting a very humid state.
all he has to do is be fancy, telling him
Just
to keep
drying
his
up
pinky
easily.
no matter what. But soon, SpongeBob starts to slowly die in the tree dome, and Patrick stupidly tells SpongeBob to ignore water and keep his pinky raised. When they zoom in on his drying face,
don't
the
need
details
it.
look closer to
I
fine
don't
art
need it.
rather than a cartoon. Of course, none of these techniques on their own were technically new, but SpongeBob SquarePants had put them together in a way that redefined modern animation. The highly detailed close-ups made for often uncomfortable and sometimes gross situations.
Okay, that is definitely a later episode, because that is even more disgusting than any of the season 1 through 3 close-ups. Seriously, what were they thinking?
But to take it even further than that, Hillenburg's team also had no trouble using real-life people as plot devices whenever they thought it was ridiculously funny. In a Season 2 Christmas special called Christmas
Absolute
Who, we're
classic.
introduced to Tom Kenny dressed in a pirate's costume named...
Wait, is this the first episode where we see Patchy? If so, that's insane.
Patchy the Pirate, with a parrot puppet named Potty. He'd be depicted as SpongeBob's #1 fan and become a major host in any SpongeBob specials. Or another strange episode where a man dressed up in a gorilla costume pops into frame, tries to kill Sandy and Patrick, rips SpongeBob in half, and gave nightmares to children around the world.
Does that include you, Momo?
No, I didn't have nightmares from that.
No, I didn't either. Chad, did you? I didn't.
Best kid show ever. As if it
Yeah, exactly.
couldn't get any better, the stories and character dynamics were damn near perfect. Initially, it seems like everyone in Bikini Bottom sees SpongeBob as a
I was on my way to the Big Doofus convention.
fool or pitiful man-child. Characters like
I
Squidward,
immediately
Mr.
knew the
Krabs,
line
and
that would
Plankton see
come up
his
in that
hopeful
scene.
perspective as a weakness and try to exploit it for their own personal gain. But to Hillenburg, he said the premise for the show is that innocence prevails, which I don't think it always does in real life.
True.
And this is demonstrated constantly with his interactions with Squidward, with the first being jellyfishing, where SpongeBob and Patrick invite Squidward to catch jellyfish in jellyfish fields. Not only does he deny the invite, but he is a sarcastic jerk about it, which results in him getting hunted down by a jellyfish, stung, and then riding his bike off a cliff, which leaves him temporarily paralyzed. SpongeBob, who
I
has
guess
no
that's
hate in his
karma?
heart, realizes that Squidward needs help and decides to take care of him. From there, they take him jellyfishing to show him how much fun he is missing out on. Squidward...
Oh, fun fact about that scene that you were about to see. This is how widespread SpongeBob has been. My aunt will get quite a, even though like my aunt is not the target audience that some people would say that SpongeBob is for. She absolutely loves the firmly grasp it scene and will still quote it to this day. That's how much of an impact that SpongeBob has.
Seeks revenge on the jellyfish, only for him to get stung by a massive jellyfish that injures him even more. Basically, every time he has a cynical outlook or bad intentions, he pays for it by getting hurt. It was hilarious and sticks to Steve's message that innocence prevails.
Yep.
SpongeBob was never supposed to be dumb or foolish. He just has so much faith in the world around him that it creates new adventures and challenges.
We need more SpongeBobs out there.
Berg said, SpongeBob is a complete innocent, not an idiot. SpongeBob never fully realizes how stupid Patrick is. They're whipping themselves up into situations. That's always where the humor comes from. Hillenburg also wrote the show so that any character could be a foil character, which is a character who highlights the traits of another character through contrast or comparison. Sandy showed SpongeBob's lack of
Interesting
strength with
concept, I must say.
karate. Mrs. Puff showed that he can study, but lacks the mental maturity and patience to actually drive. Mr. Krabs Krabs showed his lack of greed, and Plankton showed his lack of evil. But just when you think these characters are extreme,
You know, sometimes I feel like that there are people that we know that can be like full of characters in a story. Like another person just brings something out of you and just displays a side of you.
extremely predictable, Hillenburg always found a way to give them some depth, because in real life,
Which makes it so that they're equally as important in your story.
we're not just one emotion or one character trait, like how he portrayed Squidward in the 5th episode of Season 1 called Pizza Delivery. Mr. Krabs decides that the Krusty Krab should enter the pizza delivery service, and
Cheeseburger pizza has been a real thing in I think Pizza Hut Middle Eastern. There was like a crust that was cheeseburger themed.
SpongeBob and Squidward have to personally deliver to the first
But it wasn't a pizza made out of cheeseburgers, I don't think.
customer, but they get lost and have to do this long, brutal journey on foot.
Sounds like an interesting
Squidward is
concept,
grumpy
though.
and annoyed like usual, but they eventually make it. Unfortunately, the customer refuses to pay because the delivery took too long and they
My
forgot his
drink?
drink.
My
SpongeBob
diet Dr.
cries,
Kelp?
feeling like a failure, and instead of siding with the customer, Squidward defends SpongeBob, taking the pizza to the ungrateful customer and
Well, this
smashing it
one's
into his
on the
face.
house!
Suddenly, all of us realize that Squidward was one of the most misunderstood characters. Maybe SpongeBob annoyed him all the time, but he wasn't gonna let some jerk disrespect
Pretty
his
sure if I got our friend Nate in the call, he would just be quoting a lot of the scenes on this with me if this was the video that we were showing him.
It established this kind of older brother, younger brother dynamic where Squidward low-key cares about SpongeBob, but is constantly annoyed by his antics to show it. But the greatest part about SpongeBob
Yeah, it shows that he's human.
SquarePants was that the team somehow figured out a way to
He
make
may
his show
get annoyed
appeal
by
to
him,
kids
but he still
and their
cares at the end of the
parents.
day.
Kids enjoyed the silly physical comedy and songs like the Fun Song or Jellyfish Rave, and adults were able to laugh at the low-key inappropriate jokes that
This was a later season, and I'm surprised that they were able to get away with this sometimes.
would never exist on
remember that
kids' TV
episode.
today.
That's it. Patrick, your genius is showing.
Where? I feel like a big jerk.
That one definitely flew over my head. The one with the picture of the donkey. Until I learned another word for donkey, I was like, oh.
Yeah, it flew over my head too.
Guess you're gonna miss the panty raid.
It was so crazy that they allowed this on this episode. And now the episode is completely removed from any TV airing.
Oh,
Luckily, that's what DVDs and physical media are for, ladies and gentlemen, and people that identify as neither.
I was one of those kids that got to actually see that episode on TV.
Same.
Yeah. And you're talking about raiding their dressers for their underpants, right? Oh yeah.
Like, dang, I didn't know SpongeBob and Patrick had this side of them.
Give us some credit, old man. We're panty professionals.
Huh? It's so, looking back, it's so weird to hear Patrick refer to himself as a panty professional.
We score here all the time.
Okay, and that just adds on to that. This, once again, is a later season.
By the end of Season 2, it wasn't just a cult classic. SpongeBob's face alone was a marketing goldmine, with images of SpongeBob
Pretty much Nickelodeon's Mickey Mouse.
and the other characters appearing on items ranging from thong underwear to boxes of macaroni and cheese.
Thong underwear? I forgot that this was a thing. SpongeBob thong underwear.
Sales of merchandise related to the show reached 750 million.
The mac and cheese I remember, though. I did used to get, like, the Kraft mac and cheese SpongeBob theme before.
He quickly became a cultural icon, and by Season 3, the show really had reached its peak.
Why'd they have to show that image for Season 3? I'm pretty sure this exact artwork was much later.
Three of the major standouts were Club SpongeBob, where Squidward is stranded with Patrick and SpongeBob while they follow a mechanical magic conch. Squidward doesn't believe in the power of the conch, but ultimately gives in when they get everything they wish for.
Hold on, do we have like an actual toy of the magic conch? Because if they're not selling that, that's an opportunity that they're missing out on.
Or the
there
Idiot
is the
Box,
magic
where
8-ball.
SpongeBob and Patrick purchase a
Yeah, but it's not a conch, Momo.
That may be true, but it's still magic.
It's not a conch.
massive TV with the intention to throw it out and only play inside the box it was delivered in. Squidward takes the TV from the trash thinking he got the better deal, but realizes that television leaves him feeling bored and empty inside. It was a fun way to show children that you don't need TV to explore new worlds if your imagination is strong enough. But the season favorite has to be Chocolate with Nuts.
Yes!
Where Patrick and SpongeBob try to get rich by selling chocolate bars as entrepreneurs. They keep getting
Did
scammed
you say
by a cruel
chocolate?
salesman while running away from a fish screaming chocolate at the top of his lungs, and it's only when they can't run.
Don't ask why, but I know that the canon name for that fish is Tom. Okay, you can't ask why. According to the SpongeBob Wiki, which I'm pretty sure keeps track of all the fish names, like this one is Tom, the one that screams my leg is Fred, and I think the later season writers had become aware of that, and now a lot more people are knowing him as Fred.
Anymore that they realize the maniac is willing to give them a small fortune. It was the kind of season that made SpongeBob look like the next Simpsons, but for kids.
And then unfortunately it would become the next Simpsons in terms of overstaying its welcome.
There was nothing they couldn't do, and it had the potential to never end. But just as SpongeBob was becoming a worldwide phenomenon, Steve Hillenburg wanted it to be done. I definitely need a break, Hillenburg told The Times. I want to try something new. I think the network wants to make a SpongeBob movie. I also want to make a movie. I wouldn't want to try and work on the series concurrently with the film. At that point,
Which
Steve
makes a lot
was
of
gearing
sense.
up for the SpongeBob movie to be the conclusion of the show, and everyone started losing their damn minds.
But it works pretty well as a conclusion.
A longtime crew member, Kenny Pittenger, said, "Many people were astonished when SpongeBob ended after the third season. It's at the height of its popularity, but it's so funny. Aren't you guys getting great ratings?"
It's like the clip from Toy Story 2 where Woody's watching his show for the first time and there isn't really an ending episode and he's like, "Oh, that was a good show. Why cancel it?" But there really are valid reasons as to why a lot of shows will end with just a couple of seasons, and I think it's a good way of bringing, as mentioned before, I think it's a good way of bringing home the message that everything has a shelf life, and sometimes it's a better idea to leave them wanting more.
Has Steve gone crazy? Steve had several reasons for ending it when he did, but even though I don't know any of this...
It's the same kind of thing that can apply to Dragon Ball Z, the abridged series, which I was sad for a while that it ended in 2020 after the last episodes of the Cell Saga, but I totally understood why they had to end it. They were afraid of having it overstay its welcome and jump the shark or run out of ideas. And while I would have liked more episodes with the Boo Saga, I still like what they did with the Boo bits for Totally Not Mark's review of the Boo Saga. So it was good to see a slight return to it, even if it was brief.
Specifics, the movie undoubtedly factored into his decision. Steve said he was going to end the show after the third season so the show wouldn't jump the shark.
Exactly.
The show was such a cash cow for the station that it couldn't afford to. Steve was able to leave and still gets a cut of the merchandising, so I'm happy for him. Hillenburg always approached this show as an artist with a story to tell. He made enough money, he was set for life, and now that the story was over, it was time to move on and create new things. But as we all know, corporations don't care about art, and even...
Yep. That still applies to this day.
If Steve was going to walk away, Nickelodeon was never remotely considering actually canceling SpongeBob SquarePants.
Unfortunately.
So instead of it ending on a high note, SpongeBob would slowly
There he is! There's my favorite white boy!
Welcome, Steve. We'll just be watching some videos this time, and then eventually in a couple days I'll get back to the usual gaming stuff. But we're looking at the dark era of SpongeBob, and as well as the history of SpongeBob, according to the video from this guy at least, Patrick CC.
Example of what happens when a corporation takes a piece of art and milks it dry until it becomes an unrecognizable shell of.
Yeah, even if like whether or not SpongeBob was going to have, whether or not it was planned for SpongeBob to have a spin-off, this felt like such a weird concept.
What it once was. According to everyone working on the SpongeBob movie, the process behind making it was one of the most challenging periods of their lives. Even crew members like Eric Weiss, who had left the show to work on cult classics like Samurai Jack and Danny Phantom, returned to make sure it was a success. I always wanted to be a feature animator, and the movie felt like I was on the character animation end. It was a blast. It felt like coming home. We saw how stressed Steve and Derek were, so we wanted to work hard for them. We all felt like we had some ownership of SpongeBob, like we were a family that helped raise him. We loved the little guy. Those cartoonists are my buddies, and I wanted to put in all the extra effort I could for them. Seeing SpongeBob on the big screen, wow, that was huge. It was quite a journey. And looking back, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie did seem like a decent way to finish a classic series that showed experimental kids animation.
I forgot that I still had that redeem of Ask Me Anything, which I think is reserved for the Minecraft hardcore streams and such, but you can go ahead and just ask me whatever. I just forgot to have that redeem disabled for this and save it for the other streams. But anyways,
at its peak, SpongeBob became the manager of the Krusty Krab 2. He won the respect of his peers as a young adult while still embracing his inner childlike creativity, and Plankton was sent to prison for his countless crimes.
And we all celebrated with Ocean Man by Ween, which is a band that I'm pretty sure is not meant for general audiences.
Better, the movie included all of the classic devices that made the show so special, with live-action cameos, songs, and adult jokes that made it feel more like the longest episode ever rather.
Oh, who could forget SpongeBob getting drunk off of ice cream? This also took me a while to get. It took me like years in order to get what this was supposed to be an allegory for.
Than a film.
She's Birdie, SpongeBob.
Here, take this.
What's in here?
It's a magical bag of winds. I stole them from my father.
You're hot.
But again, Nickelodeon had no intentions on ending the show, and it seemed like they were low-key grooming animator Paul Tibbitt to be the next Steve Hillenburg. Paul said, "I was wrapping up on the movie and the network wanted to do more shows." Steve said, "No, I want to finish the movie," and he wasn't even sure if he wanted to go back to the show.
I would have been with Steve on this one.
He set out to accomplish, and he wanted to take a step back and try something different. I had sort of been training to take over the job. After we finished writing the last season, they kept me around because they had a couple of things in mind. Originally, they were going to do a couple of specials after the third season. I was shadowing Steve and Derek, and I got to go to a lot of the records and editing.
Give me 1 second. I think my favorite thing of Portal 2 would be a lot of the writing, and there's some of the puzzles that I like, but I especially like the writing and a lot of the character dialogue there can be.
Sessions. So I'd been training to do that job, not knowing it would be for SpongeBob. They just wanted to keep me around in case something popped up. But when we were working on the movie, they came in one day and said, "We want to make more episodes, but Steve doesn't want to."
And Steve is in the right.
I said, "I'll do it." They came back the next day and said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Sure." It was just being in the right place at the right time.
And this is where things got crazy.
Many fans interpret this as the exact moment that SpongeBob was stolen from Steven Hillenburg. But the harsh truth is that Hillenburg lost control over the SpongeBob IP the second he sold it to Nickelodeon. That might not make it right, but that's just how the business has worked for decades. The artist creates the show, they get a cut of the merch and rerun earnings, and if they're really lucky, they might be able to maintain creative control while it's running. Steve knew this, and given that SpongeBob was so massively popular, he had a hard choice to make. Either he could be trapped in the writer's room for all eternity and maintain control of his story, or he could let go of the day-to-day operations and do what makes him happy.
It makes sense. It's a very difficult decision to make.
I did the movie. Paul came in and basically has been running the show kind of in my shoes.
Did you just need a rest at that point, you think?
I felt like it's time for new blood. I think it's good to change things up to keep it fresh.
And while Steve would remain as an executive producer of the show after season 3, his role went
just a little involved.
From being the guy making sure that every single aspect of the show was perfect to someone who just kind of oversees and gives his opinion after the episodes are complete, and the team can consider his thoughts if they want to, but realistically they don't have to listen to him. And
this has me wonder how much of an input Steven really had during that era.
Steve's absence from the day-to-day grind was extremely noticeable.
This would also give me the mental image of, like, by the time he'd return, I could just imagine him bursting through the door and being like, "What did you do to my creation?"
I can imagine that too.
What are you doing?
Noticeable as soon as season 4 aired. The downfall of SpongeBob SquarePants had officially begun.
On season 4, which had some good episodes, but I could tell when things were starting to go downhill.
At its best, SpongeBob Season 4 was rated a point or two lower than every episode from Seasons 1 through 3. At its worst, it was getting massacred by a disappointed fan base that felt that the spirit of the original SpongeBob was
Season 4 is not a classic quality season and is overrated. Interesting.
Fading away. The only halfway decent episodes, in my opinion, were Krusty Towers.
Oh, Krusty Towers I was quite fascinated by, mainly by the concept of the Krusty Krab becoming a hotel.
Where Mr. Krabs turns the Krusty Krab into a hotel, and Skill Crane, where Squidward gets addicted to winning a prize from a claw machine. But even still, the captivating storytelling was missing. It felt boring, and this only spiraled out of control in later seasons, where a lot of fans felt like it wasn't even the same show anymore, but more like a knockoff that took its place and destroyed.
What am I looking at here?
I seen that earlier.
Really?
I was like, what is this?
I don't know.
The characters. Over the next 10 years, the SpongeBob writers reduced the characters significantly through a process called Flanderization. It was originally named after Ned Flanders from The Simpsons, who was originally depicted as a friendly, generous Christian neighbor and a model father, husband, and citizen, making him a contrast to Homer Simpson. As seasons progressed, however, he became increasingly obsessively religious to the point where he eventually embodied almost every negative stereotype of the God-fearing, Bible-thumping American Christian evangelist.
Yeah, to the point where his only personality was Christian.
And it applies to any character. It's the act of taking a single, often minor action or trait of a character within a work and exaggerating it more and more over time until it completely consumes the character.
Wait, so Ned Flanders had like the... They're just like... So Ned Flanders had this Christian background. What if we took the Christian background and just cranked it up to 1,000?
This got so bad that SpongeBob fans refer to season 6 through 9 as the Dark Era. For Squidward, the complaints mainly stem from what is referred to as Squidward torture. In early...
Well, it was called more than just Squidward torture, but it's understandable why the guy can't say the full term for it. To spell it out, I think a lot of people labeled it as Squidward torture corn, let's say.
Yeah.
Episode, Squidward would be a jerk.
Not the actual corn, by the way.
Which led to him getting a deserved and silly punishment. What changed is that he would start getting...
I didn't realize the time, and I got work in the morning.
That's fair.
Yeah, I gotta get some sleep.
You go have your shift, Momo.
Thank you. I'll talk to you tomorrow for tomorrow's event.
Oh, that's right. Tomorrow in the community Discord, we'll be watching Alvin and the Chipmunks The Squeakquel.
I also get paid tomorrow, so I'm gonna get some snacks for the movie.
All right, you better be getting some rest, Momo.
Yeah, I will. You have a good night.
Have a good night.
JPS. Good night, everyone in the chat. Be good for JPS, because I'm always watching.
Always watching, Wazowski.
Anyway, I shall play my shutdown sound, even though
Discord just
JPS
froze
hear
at...
it.
Well, I can hear it now. Also, Discord just froze at the most weirdest time, so it just turned you into a robot for a split second. They will be able to hear it. Don't worry.
Alright, well, have a good night, everybody.
And there they go.
Treated
Where were
or
we?
at worst tortured for seemingly no reason.
Oh, you know what? You know what else this reminded me of? I remember like 2 videos by this infamous cartoon reviewer by the name of the Mysterious Mr. Enter, if anyone remembers that. And he had like top 10 worst Squidward torture episodes, and top 10 episodes where Patrick's a huge jerk. Now, I don't really agree with how extreme he would be in those videos, but I can definitely understand why the episodes were not very good. And I would agree with like the episodes not being very good. I just wouldn't agree with how extreme he would be with those. And I would hope that I could be wrong, but I hope that he's not as extreme with his opinions going forward. He might be, or he might not be. I don't know. I don't keep up with him entirely.
In Choir Boys, Squidward desperately wants to perform at a concert, only for SpongeBob's non-stop screaming to literally destroy his throat and ruin the opportunity entirely.
I wondered how that happened. I wondered how that happened in the episode. If it was like a lot of screaming from Squidward that had done that.
In Boating Buddies, Squidward gets trapped, spending the day with SpongeBob, leading to him being falsely arrested and publicly embarrassed, despite doing almost nothing wrong. Squid's
what the
visit
heck
takes
was
it
that
even
episode?
further, with Squidward finally escaping SpongeBob, only to discover SpongeBob has secretly recreated his entire house inside his own home.
This is stalker material.
Turning the episode into something that feels like a genuinely unsettling Black Mirror episode instead of silly and funny. Episodes like Slide Whistle Stooges and Giant Squidward kept pushing this same formula.
Yeah, this
Squidward
one
wasn't
was a
really
pain to
flawed,
watch.
misunderstood character getting comedic payback anymore. He was just plain miserable and being tortured for it. And over time, that subtle shift completely changed the tone of the show, leading to this extremely dark joke.
I can't seem to get happy.
Yeah, how did they manage to get away with that one?
For saying,
I still wonder how they managed to get away with that one. To the point where I'm pretty sure some people connected that to the Squidward creepypasta that I don't know if I can name the full name of, but if you know, you know.
Sandy Cheeks, it was more about how she became more and more obsessed with science than anything else.
And there was no hint to that other than like maybe Sandy's rocket that had like the slight expressed interest in science. So I'm guessing that the writers that worked on that just saw that episode of like, we'll make her a scientist.
The dimensions of her personality as a strong Texan with nothing to lose were mostly replaced.
I'm just now noticing the chroma key of this part of the Texas music video,
making her just feel kind of dull. Sandy's rocket was literally the only time in the older episodes where she showed an interest in science.
Yeah,
Then,
exactly.
right out of nowhere, she's suddenly obsessed with it. Now, a lot of the newer episodes are just her dumb experiments. But what they did to Patrick Star could be the worst of them all. He's always been a dumb sidekick for SpongeBob, but he never did anything with the intention to harm people.
Hey, Patrick,
Yeah.
are you angry too? Yeah. What's the matter?
I can't see my forehead.
During the Dark Era, they made him insufferably dumb. No charm at all, just one brain cell. Like in The Splinter, where SpongeBob gets a splinter.
Oh, anything but that episode. This was insanely graphic. Another case of what were they thinking?
In his thumb and calls Dr. Patrick, whose office is in the Krusty Krab dumpster. Patrick then starts the exam by chewing on SpongeBob's foot, and then he gets mad when SpongeBob says that's not helping. From there, instead of trying to pull the little piece of wood out, Patrick decides to hammer the splinter deeper into SpongeBob's thumb and then rubs garbage all over it to
Chat, I'm sorry you had to relive this.
To reduce the swelling. Like, at this point, this isn't even just Patrick being dumb. Like, it almost seems like he's just intentionally trying to cause harm.
It's also very disgusting.
Writing here is so lazy that it goes beyond dumb. It's just nonsensical. Doctors' offices are supposed to be clean, so they put Patrick in a dumpster. You're supposed to pull the splinter out, so Patrick pushes it further in. The wounds are supposed to be sterile so they don't get an infection, and he puts garbage all over it. Just making Patrick do the opposite of what he's supposed to do is nonsensical. There's no charm. Like, he used to have this charm to his dumbness. Like, in a way, Patrick was so dumb that you almost thought he was onto something.
Oh, if only I knew how to work this thing.
Let me take a look at it. You know what the problem is?
What?
You got it set to M for mini, when it should be set to W for Wumbo.
Who could forget
As
about
if the new writing
Wumbo?
wasn't bad enough, Patrick from here was often
I Wumbo, you Wumbo, he, she, me, Wumbo. Wumbology? The study of Wumbo? It's first grade, SpongeBob. My brain right now.
depicted as extremely selfish, cruel, and weirdly aggressive towards SpongeBob in newer episodes. In Yours, Mine, and Mine, Patrick is particularly insufferable as he tries to force SpongeBob to share his toy with him.
Hey, Patrick, have you met my new toy?
Don't you mean our new toy?
Our new toy?
It came from the meal that we're sharing.
Sharing?
Remember, sharing is the most wonderful feeling in the world, like dancing with a magical seahorse through an enchanted kelp garden.
Oh boy.
Remember those words, SpongeBob?
I didn't say that, but I guess we can share, Patty Pal.
And in
You know, I'm surprised he didn't use the episode The Card, which had the infamous moment of Patrick saying, SpongeBob, you can't always expect my usual brand of stupidity. I like to mix it up, keep you on your toes. I remember that one got Mr. Enter fuming a lot.
Stuck in the ringer, SpongeBob gets trapped in a towel ringer.
He's doing this on purpose. He's
Arms,
always been
hands,
doing
or
this
even
on
swallow
purpose.
his food. Instead of trying to efficiently help him out, the writers again make Patrick do the opposite thing that he should do, and he decides to glue SpongeBob to the ringer, thinking
what was he thinking?
It will fix it, but it traps SpongeBob even more. From there, Patrick decides to take SpongeBob to the carnival while he has an amazing time, and SpongeBob has to sit there and watch how much fun
This
he's
was
having
not a
without
fun
him.
episode
When
to watch
SpongeBob
back
finally
then.
defends himself, Patrick cries, and the whole town sees SpongeBob as the bad guy.
You know, kid, your body isn't the problem. It's your heart.
What was up with these guys' attitude in that episode?
Deserve what you've gotten. Come on, we're out of here.
SpongeBob then falls into a deep depression, and Patrick comes over, cries again, and his tears melt the glue, which allows SpongeBob to break free. And then they
And then he somehow gets rid of his 5 o'clock shadow there.
literally make SpongeBob say the lesson to be learned from this story in the end.
I guess crying does solve your problems after all.
Huh? Anyways.
Not only is this terrible, nonsensical, and not even remotely funny, I've never seen them have to explain the point of an episode at the end. It's also increasingly obvious that SpongeBob has only been for kids after Steven Hillenburg left. And it was always a kid's show.
Yeah, you definitely see the both of them acting a lot more childish rather than just innocent compared to everyone else. You can definitely see how much more childish they are.
But what made it so different was the fact that parents could watch alongside their kids and enjoy it, so they could share laughs and make memories together. But SpongeBob acts and behaves more like a baby than ever before,
The eyes right there, as they were playing with the toy, didn't help either.
making it unwatchable for adults.
Not only that, but the crying afterwards.
The characters don't feel like adults anymore. In the original show, while SpongeBob was childish, he never felt like a kid. He just felt like an optimistic adult with childish hobbies.
This also feels like quite a stark contrast with the SpongeBob movie, where SpongeBob's trying to prove that he is a man and not a kid. And then we have episodes like that are showing that he's still a kid, apparently.
but now everyone just feels like a kid in an adult's body. But in the newer seasons, he just cries over stupid reasons, breaking a spatula, tripping over his toe, ripping his favorite shirt, while several others just like it are hanging right behind it. Honestly, I cannot with the stupidity of modern SpongeBob. And most people's rebuttal is, bro, you're just getting older. But the crazy...
I don't think that's the only thing. Like, yeah, I think a lot of us have gotten older, but somehow, mentality-wise, SpongeBob and Patrick have just regressed somehow.
Part is, this all started way back in seasons 4 and 5. A lot of us...
Not only that, but Squidward would get done dirty a lot.
We're still little kids at that time. I remember being like 9 or 10 and thinking these episodes just felt different.
Same!
And now I'm just reanalyzing as an adult and seeing I was right. But it wasn't just the writing that negatively impacted this iconic show. SpongeBob's own animation was losing a lot of its initial charm. It started with subtle changes like better lighting and vibrant colors after the first movie, which is understandable. They have to keep up with the times. But in
Yeah, there's that kind of thing for The Simpsons as well.
2015, when Hillenburg and Nickelodeon released SpongeBob Sponge Out of Water, the visual identity of the main show was essentially dead and replaced with something else. They switched to 1080i high-definition animation. It wasn't even close to the gritty, imperfect, experimental animation that attracted many of us to the series in the first place. Everything was smoothed out, glossy, and in some cases looked completely three-dimensional. And while they still used SpongeBob's elasticity and Bikini Bottom's crazy characters for comedic purposes, it felt like it was all to make up for lazy writing. No depth, no good character arcs, just...
Why did he have a Squidward nose for a second?
Introducing new, random, exotic characters like a Rick and Morty episode. Not to mention how they constantly turn SpongeBob into something grotesque and unsettling. They seem to be particularly obsessed with characters ripping their skin off.
Again, what were they thinking?
And despite the show being objectively worse in every way possible, the strong legacy of Steve's original creation led to the show maintaining pretty decent ratings over the years. It's almost like with every new season, people hope the original charm would come back. SpongeBob actually won the Favorite Cartoon Award every year from 2003 to 2021, except in 2008 when Avatar: The Last Airbender momentarily took the spotlight.
2008, I wonder what happened. I wonder how SpongeBob was doing then.
SpongeBob had transcended TV ratings. He was a generational cultural icon
Weird that it was just 2008 when he didn't win.
Similar to Mickey Mouse. Nickelodeon literally needed him to survive because he was an extension of their identity. After the release of the Sponge Out of Water film in 2015, Steven Hillenburg actually returned to work more closely on the show, and many fans felt like Steve was going to breathe new life into this series.
And it was starting to come back a little. At least a little. Not like season 1 through 3 levels of having its charm, but it was starting to get somewhat better by comparison.
Even with him back in the writer's room, bringing SpongeBob back from the grave would take a miracle. TV as a whole...
Yeah, it would. It wouldn't get back to the golden era, but it would at least get better than seasons 4 through 9. Or the worst of 4 through 9.
Was phasing out as social media took over, and tragically, Steven Hillenburg did not have much time left. In a formal statement to fans in 2017, Steve wrote, "I wanted people to hear directly from me that I have been diagnosed with ALS. Anyone who knows me knows I will continue to work on SpongeBob SquarePants and my other passions for as long as I am able. My family and I are grateful for the outpouring of love and support. We ask that our sincere request for privacy be honored during this time. For those unfamiliar with ALS, the disease leads to muscle weakness and gets worse over time. ALS often begins with muscle twitching and weakness in an arm or leg, trouble swallowing, or slurred speech. Eventually, ALS affects the muscles needed to move, speak, eat, and breathe. The last time the public would see Hillenburg before his death in 2018 was when he received an Emmy Award from his old friend Tom Kenny.
SpongeBob's vocal cords might be mine, but SpongeBob's playful spirit of gentle anarchy, his humor, and the joy he takes in his vibrant, colorful, music-filled world come directly 100% from my good buddy, Mr. Steven Hillenburg. I love you, brother.
Thank you.
Rest in peace to a legend. Absolute legend.
Steven Hillenburg ultimately passed away peacefully in his home in November of 2018, and after his death, there was a constant discussion about what Steve would have wanted for the future of SpongeBob SquarePants, because less than 3 months after his death...
Because the interesting thing is, he's no longer with us, so we'll never know truly what he wanted to do with SpongeBob after the second movie. Because unfortunately we can't ask him now. We'll never know if he was truly planning a spin-off series, or if he never wanted that to happen.
Nickelodeon announced that they were developing spin-off projects for SpongeBob SquarePants characters for the first time ever. Immediately, fans were suspicious as Hillenburg discussed his reluctance towards spin-offs in 2009.
Yeah, I think what was mentioned was that he himself doesn't see SpongeBob doing a spin-off series.
Said, the show is about SpongeBob. He's the core element, and it's about how he relates to the other characters. Patrick by himself might be a bit too much, so I don't see any spin-offs. Camp Coral was announced in June of 2019.
It's that kind of thing that shows why Planet Sheen didn't really work as well compared to Sheen in Jimmy Neutron.
Which was immediately met with extreme backlash. The updated show was CG animated, and it followed the adventures of SpongeBob and his friends as 10-year-old kids. The show completely backpedals on whatever remained of the original plot of SpongeBob, and pretends like SpongeBob knew all of these characters since he was a child.
They were never really the 100% best with continuity. But this was a whole new level of confusing when it came to the continuity.
Paul Tibbett posted a tweet confronting the staff on the project, arguing that this was all for the sake of greed. Do not mean any disrespect to my colleagues who are working on this show. They are good people and talented artists, but this is some greedy, lazy executiving right here, and they all know full well Steve would have hated this. Shame on them. But the situation got more complicated and confusing when I'm Urging You to Leave, a Camp Coral short based on the series, was leaked in 2021 that featured a credit saying that the show was created by Hillenburg. Tom Kenny also spoke out against the backlash, saying, "We were a little unsure about the CGI thing too. SpongeBob is such a determinedly 2D classic animated looking show. They were able to find a way to take that CGI and lend it the same squashy, stretchy, kinetic, the craziness of 2D classic animation. That was a puzzle they worked really hard to figure out, and I think are still learning on Camp Coral. I think it's fun to have to learn new tricks when you've been doing something for a while, so it doesn't become stale." And in a now deleted series of tweets,
the fact that it said created by Steven Hillenburg, that's one of those things that makes it hard to tell whether or not he had truly planned for that thing, or if he was like truly against this kind of thing.
Current SpongeBob showrunner Vincent Waller said, "Steve was aware it was being developed. Sadly, he did not get to see it completed. I think it would have made him smile. Saying, 'I don't see any spin-offs' is in no way saying, 'I would never do a spin-off.' Just like when he said he had no interest in doing a movie, yet lo and behold, not only did he make a movie, but he took part in 3 of them. So can we give a rest to the he would nevers?" Then again, it wasn't just this one spin-off. The network has released The Patrick Star Show. Again, Steve explicitly said in the past that this would be too much, The Title Zone, and additional films like the Sandy Cheeks movie and Plankton the movie. And
I remember seeing the Sandy Cheeks movie, and that was... I don't know why that had to happen.
It's because of all this that many fans believe Steven Hillenburg is rolling in his grave as the greedy Nickelodeon executives rinse his sponge until it's bone dry. But I think that is a bit of an overstatement. I think we can infer from Steve's past quotes that the artist in him never saw SpongeBob going past season 3, let alone becoming a legacy character like Mickey Mouse. He probably didn't love all these wacky new ideas, spin-offs, and concepts, but he understood that his creation was much bigger than him.
If I were to ever have a child, I don't think I see myself having a child or two. Maybe that could change, I don't know. Just at the moment I'd be thinking against it. But suppose I were to, if I were to introduce them to SpongeBob, I would start with seasons 1 through 3, as well as the movie. And then eventually, like years later, then I would let them see how the series had changed quite a bit after the movie. Just so that they could know like what we had and what it had eventually become, as like a way to display how much more weird things can be if greed takes over the company and they just want it to keep going.
Was generational. Add on the fact that he developed
Plus, I don't want them to be scarred by the Splinter episode or the toenail scene.
friends and relationships with the hardworking folks who worked on this show and would probably want them to keep their jobs. It's unlikely that all of these spin-offs were thought of the moment he passed away, as shows generally take years and years to develop. He probably was aware of them or was even presented them during his tenure. And since Steve was a great guy and was open-minded, he probably genuinely considered every new idea that was presented to him and tried to make it make sense while still maintaining the artistic integrity of the
That is a cool looking image right there.
Original show. Maybe he did even work on some of these spin-offs, but I don't think it's a coincidence that 0 spin-offs were greenlit while Steve was alive, because if SpongeBob's legacy was truly up to Steven Hillenburg and not a multi-billion-dollar network, the show would have never made it past 2004. SpongeBob is a great reminder that the best cartoons are the ones that adults can watch too, because historically, cartoons were actually never made for kids. But check out this video if you want to hear that.
That will not be the next video that we'll watch, but we do have another Patrick CC video coming up after this. This one is...
There is more.
This one is the death of mainstream. Let's see how this goes.
High quality content available than ever before, and yet most people feel like there is something missing. There was once a time where it felt like we were all on the same wavelength when it came to entertainment.
Oh man, I'm just seeing Nickelodeon Guts, and I'm having such nostalgic flashbacks right now. I didn't see it when it was airing, but there was a channel called Nick Gas or Nick Games and Sports that would have reruns of Guts, Legends of the Hidden Temple, Double Dare, and I would see those. Yeah, who could forget? Do you have it? Guts! Oh, there's the Legends of the Hidden Temple logo right there. I was like born in the late 90s rather than when these shows were airing, but these were so nostalgic to look back on. And there's Home Alone too. All of that was one that I discovered like much later, but that was interesting to look back on, even though I didn't grow up with that show. I grew up with the Amanda Show though, but that was like way after all that.
And pop culture. Everything felt more impactful. Movies were bigger. Music spread further. Famous people were actually famous. Awards meant something. And if there was a shocking story in the news, it was impossible to miss.
I'm pretty sure that story is definitely hard to miss.
It was much easier to have your finger on the pulse of pop culture, and it created this bond that we had together as strangers. And we took it for granted, because now that...
Wait, what was that dance what was that dance that Will was doing?
This bond that we had together as strangers, and we took it for granted, because now that
catch me at the club doing that.
Bond is gone. The world of entertainment, music, movies, shows, social media feels oversaturated, confusing, and dull. I bet most of you can relate to this. How many times these days does someone say to you, "Hey, did you hear about," or "Hey, did you see," and not only is your answer no, but you literally have no idea what they are talking about. Life wasn't always like that. What we are missing today and for the past few years is a monoculture, which is essentially one culture that all Americans are connected to. Sometimes I even call it the death of mainstream, because nothing really feels mainstream anymore.
Interesting.
Every decade had their own version of monoculture that was seemingly easily defined. But what will define the 2020s? Monoculture is dead. And for anyone watching this,
my guess, something that would define the 2020s, absolute chaos. The good kind and the bad.
That's like a teenager or younger, it means nothing because they can't relate to that experience. But literally anyone older than that remembers their version of monoculture and probably misses it because it represents a much more simple time. Every generation before Gen Alpha had limited options for entertainment.
Man, seeing these kinds of TVs on these kinds of stands, that also takes me back.
And they thought it was a burden, flipping through TV channels saying, oh, there's nothing to watch. But now our options are infinite. 3.7 million YouTube videos uploaded every day, one streaming service with every song ever made, and 100,000 new songs being uploaded every day.
And unfortunately, that service will also have some people sneaking in like AI generated content and that, but anyways.
Dozens of subscription services with thousands of movies.
Would social media kind of be a monocultural phenomenon? I guess so.
TV shows, a literal endless singular feed of short form videos that one can spend hours without realizing the time has passed. And
oh boy. Yeah, my only use for TikTok has just been sharing clips of mine. Because if I start, like, actively searching through videos on there, or, like, look at every video that someone sends me on there through DMs, then I know I'm going to be hooked. I've had that kind of thing with other platforms, and I've since then had to take a step back from those.
Despite having access to all of this content, a lot of us feel
I know how
bored
dangerous
and
this can
disconnected
be.
from each other. Well, today I want to talk about that feeling. That feeling like something is missing. I believe it is tied to the death of monoculture. So let's dive into how we got here, where it went wrong, and actually why some of you might consider it to be a good thing.
You may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
The available technology. The easier it is to consume, the less impactful it is. Movie theater ticket sales had their all-time peak in the US in 1946. Over 90 million weekly admissions were recorded, which means that about 60% of the US population went to go see a movie that.
And I feel like some of those theaters, considering it was the 40s and 50s and the 30s, 40s, and 50s, there were like a lot of cartoons and I don't know what to call the Three Stooges, like series of short films. Those were like shown in theaters back then, right?
Year. Now, were movies objectively better in 1946? Absolutely not. There were just less of them, and less entertainment overall. The introduction of the television likely slowed down movie ticket sales, but opened up a whole new opportunity for entertainment. Cartoons, sitcoms, and of course, ads. But even television has its limitations. You had to watch the show at...
Thank you, Sponsor Block, for the expert timing.
The exact time it aired, or you missed it and had to wait for someone to tell you what happened the next day. Or even worse, you had to read this book called the TV Guide to figure out when they were going to air a rerun.
You gotta put in
Plus,
the
there were
effort
only
to
a
look
few
for the good
channels,
stuff.
so competition for attention was fierce. But that also meant that millions of people were watching the same thing at the same time. With most households operating on 9-to-5 work schedules, the only time carved out to entertain yourself was between 7 and 10. This was known as prime time, and that's when the few good shows were on. Families watched the same things together, and a new episode airing at 8 p.m. on a weeknight could dominate school hallways and office break rooms the next day. Worst case scenario, you could stay up for late night television where Letterman would catch you up on all your pop culture news.
I still used to, you guys. They have a website.
Kind of operating on the same
that's right, they do.
And the entertainment added to our humanity. That is, unless you were entirely disinterested from the few available shows and movies, then you had no other options, your life sucked, and you were looking for other forms of entertainment like heroin. But at least back...
What? I mean, I guess that was common back then.
Back then, it didn't have fentanyl in it. But the way people consumed movies and televisions stayed relatively the same for decades. By the 1970s, 95% of households had a TV in it. And then in the 80s and 90s, there was a massive uptick in available entertainment, like an entire TV channel dedicated...
Friends was one of those shows I didn't get into until, like... I had access to Netflix when it was on there. I mainly enjoy it for Chandler.
...dedicated to showing music videos or an
Because I'm a sucker for the snarky, sarcastic kind of characters.
Entire channel dedicated to showing cartoons. But even with more niche options, primetime shows still dominated pop culture, and Americans still felt a sense of togetherness through a somewhat limited availability. Is music not hitting the same anymore? Doesn't it feel like you used to have a connection with others based on a shared love for the same music? Well, music had a similar permeating connection to monoculture with a few key differences.
I wonder where this is
For
going.
most of the 20th century, music was somewhat of a luxury. Today, for $15 a month, you can get access to every song ever made and 100,000 new ones uploaded daily. $15 used to get you one out.
With some alternatives, apart from Spotify, but yeah.
Album, and you had to take your happy ass to a record store and physically buy it. And
The downside to that being that you don't really own the music. So unless you have the download feature for those songs and a lot of storage, then if the internet is not working for you, those songs are just gone. And if you stop paying, then the songs are pretty much just gone. Unless you're willing to put up with the ads. And I don't know many people that are willing to put up with Spotify ads. Shout out to Tidal. Shout out to... I don't know if I could say that.
if the album was in high enough demand,
for legal reasons,
and they might not actually have it. And that seems like a dumb thing to say, but in our modern
but you're not wrong.
culture, entertainment is never not available to you. These stores often had a strong sense of community and served as a gathering place for music fans. It wasn't unusual for artists to stop in and play mini concerts or sign albums before
I want that bass, not gonna lie.
an appearance in a particular city. When people bought an album, they were
I mean, I have one. That image just made me feel like wanting to play bass again.
now invested. They worked hard for that money. So to get the value back, they actually listened to the whole thing. They even tried to...
I have 3 vinyls, but I don't have a record player. So it's unfortunate that I can't actually play those. I would like to, though.
like the songs that they didn't initially like because they paid for it, which ultimately made them
I need to try playing bass. I also need to actually practice guitar once in a while. Same. At most, I can play like the generic blues riff on an acoustic guitar.
appreciate the artistry on a different depth. This
I would just team up with a friend of mine that could just improvise the most unusual blues lyrics, or I could just play that blues riff on and on while they just rant angrily about something, and it could make a killer blues song.
uninterrupted focus on the music built a deeper connection from the fans to the artist. Fans had to imagine what their favorite musicians were like based on
Shout out to
lyrics,
David Bowie.
a few interviews, and carefully staged photographs in magazines or posters on their wall.
I just need
There
to
was
actually
a
get back on
mystique.
Rocksmith.
Pop stars
Same.
felt larger than life, almost like fictional characters, which is why people would pass out at the mere sight of Michael Jackson.
Heck, I would.
Today we have countless interviews and endless access to all of their thoughts and opinions on social media. That mystery is gone. Artists are more accessible than ever, and because of that, they
What
feel
an
less
example
special.
to
And
show.
since music was basically a luxury, most people didn't have tons of disposable income to buy every release they wanted
Drake
to
of
listen
all
to.
people.
So they typically resorted to listening to the radio or watching MTV. You couldn't just search your favorite Guns N' Roses song and get that instant gratification. You had to turn on MTV and just wait for it to come on, but in the meantime, you were consuming tons
so it
of
was, like,
other
hard
good
to
songs
get.
that made you a more well-rounded music listener. And that was the same predicament for everyone. So at school dances, parties, or clubs, everyone felt connected because the songs that were being played were the ones that everyone had the same access to. A lot of club DJs today still mostly play music from the 2010s, and a lot of people wonder why they aren't playing more modern music. Like, are we all crippled by nostalgia? Well, not necessarily, but
I might be. No, I'm just kidding.
when you play music from
I'm not going to be one of those kinds of people that's like, oh, I was born in the wrong generation. There are fantastic songs out there in like the modern day. You just gotta find them. People didn't just sit by radios all day. They went to hangout spots that had jukeboxes. They had a device where they could request tunes. Exactly. There would be like quite a few times where I'd be at a restaurant, and anytime that they'd have a jukebox, you would catch me hooked on those jukeboxes, seeing what songs they would have available. And I remember this one arcade that I'd go to that had like it had like so many options of songs on there. And the first thing I did was choose Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley.
The 2010s, you can kind of guarantee
I was that kind of
everyone
person.
in the club is going to know those songs. Whereas
a lot more people are shut-ins now than back then. They just partook in what the malt shop had laying around and whatnot. Yeah, exactly. Like pinball and how that became a craze. You'd catch me hooked on like a lot of the different pinball machines of the different themes.
today, everyone just listens to vastly different music. What's considered extremely popular and mainstream to you might literally not be considered extremely popular and mainstream to the person next to you.
Yeah, it could be different among the different people.
Today, we have unlimited access to every song ever made.
But you don't own them, unfortunately.
New song or album drops, it is just right there in your phone. You don't have to talk to anyone, don't have to buy it, don't have to wait. Most of the time, the artist is actually begging you to listen to it, or you accidentally found out about it. You didn't even want to discover it. Most people have resorted to just letting the algorithm decide what music to recommend to them because it's easier than doing all of the effort I just talked about before. Combine this lack of mono connectivity through music, requiring absolutely no effort to get access to the music, as well as artists not having the star power due to overexposure, and surprise, surprise, music holds absolutely no value to the average casual listener. Once we entered the 2000s, the rapid advancement of available technology caused a dominant monoculture to become more.
I think I remember seeing a stereo like this that I think we've had a stereo like this actually, not with those particular stickers. And I definitely remember seeing those kinds of TVs. And who could forget Minesweeper and the DSi? Wait, Bush, where's Bush? Oh, the brand. I don't know why I thought it was George W. Bush for a second.
More fragmented. TVs were becoming cheaper, bigger, and higher quality.
Oh, one of these computers. I've definitely been familiar with that kind of monitor. Especially back when the elementary schools would have like all these different computers.
Internet was getting faster, becoming easier to access and navigate. Cell phones were in everyone's pocket. We were
That looked like a very complicated looking phone.
Becoming more connected than ever, but we didn't realize it was actually going to drive us further apart.
I mean, yeah, he's not wrong. There are like a lot of people that would be just driven into smaller, more gated communities. Just withdrawing into their own forums, as the line from Metal Gear Solid 2 would put it.
Opinion, 2000 to 2010 was a great sweet spot for pop culture. I would describe today's culture as everything all at once, and the early 2000s was the same.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. A movie I've never seen.
But it was slightly more manageable. Let's start simple. Movies. Here's a graph of every movie released per year around the world. You can see the quantity of movies released remained relatively the same from the early 1970s to the late 1990s. And it just started slowly ramping up in the 2000s before it exponentially exploded. Back then, there was a rhythm to it all. You'd get 2 or 3 massive blockbusters every summer. Movies like Spider-Man, Pirates of the Caribbean, or The Dark Knight, which dominated culture for weeks. As fall and winter rolled in, you'd see smaller budget, more experimental, or just simple films rise to the surface. Movies like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Little Miss Sunshine, Juno, and Requiem for a Dream.
Okay, Juno's the only one of these that I've heard of.
Everyone kind of knew what was coming and when it was coming, and that predictability created a shared sense of anticipation. Even smaller budget films had a shot at becoming massive, and the reason they had a shot was because
I've definitely
people
been familiar with
went
Napoleon
to the theaters.
Dynamite,
Our
even though I
last
haven't
peak
seen it.
in movie theater ticket sales was in 2002 when 1.5 billion tickets were sold. But even if you didn't go to the theater, we had
the drop in 2020 makes absolute sense.
These really cool things called DVDs, where you could buy the movie that you missed and watch it at home. And if you didn't want to commit to buying it, no worries. You could rent the film for a few bucks by going to this magical place called Blockbuster.
Rest in peace, Blockbuster.
This is a store where you could essentially browse all of the movies that you didn't get the
You've probably definitely heard the theme from Requiem. Really, me? It's not supposed to be at 3, but I just had to get that in there. Lux Eternia, I think it's called. Oh, okay.
Chance to see. You would actually talk to the employee who worked there, and they would give you a recommendation or tell you what everyone else is renting.
Just make sure you're going. You just have to make sure that you'd be going to Blockbuster and not Blockblister.
Sometimes a movie was in such high demand that
if you get that reference, you deserve a medal.
All of their copies would be rented and you couldn't get it. Imagine that. Imagine any form of entertainment being unavailable for you today. Scarcity created demand, and it made the film more exciting. It made you want to watch it more. Most of those crappy yet special early 2000s comedies were the perfect films to pick up at a Blockbuster, and people loved that place. The company earned $5 billion in revenue in 2004. The point is that
recall,
you
like,
and
2 or 3
everyone
times that
around
I've
you
been
had
to a
this physical
Blockbuster
connection with the entertainment and was actively using their brain to choose what they wanted to consume. TV still had a somewhat similar rhythm in the 2000s.
Hey,
Prime
Tiger
time
Woods.
was still valuable airtime.
Wonder what he's
MTV was
doing
in its
nowadays.
best era, in my opinion, having a plethora of terrible yet oddly captivating reality TV shows.
Oh, just
and experiments.
had to remind me of Jersey Shore. You just had to remind me of that. Interestingly, I think I've never seen a single episode of it, thankfully. I've just known that there was a whole bit in the Three Stooges adaptation that just has Mo beating the heck out of the characters from the Jersey Shore, which I'm sure it would have been entertaining to see, but it also gave them more attention.
Series
I'm
while
sure of
still
it.
having their sister network, MTV2, play music videos 24/7. It was one of the most versatile eras for mainstream music, with lyrical
Three
rap, punk rap,
Stooges.
rock, emo rock, country, pop, EDM, R&B, and countless other genres in a healthy rotation on MTV and the radio. It was just on the cusp of being overwhelming, but having it all contained on MTV and VH1 made it still manageable to keep up with. Kids were absolutely consumed by Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, and Cartoon Network, which were
Same, although I didn't get into Disney Channel and Cartoon Network until much later. Well, when I was an older kid, rather. Nickelodeon I've watched for years ever since. I think since I was like 5 or 6.
3 separate networks that each had 2 to 3 shows worth paying attention to in their respective eras. We still had a healthy separation between our personal lives and our school and work life from 9 to 5, only entertaining ourselves lightly in the morning and in the evenings. We didn't have a phone to distract us from literally every millisecond of boredom. The entertainment options still felt limited enough.
Oh yeah,
that
having
you
access
could
to the
feel
phone would
like
definitely take
everyone
us out of the
around you
moment.
was on the same wavelength. Plus, we were still at the mercy of knowing the schedule of when new shows were going to air. But that started to die when cable companies provided DVR capabilities. You could now record your favorite shows and movies and watch them later whenever you wanted.
And you can skip the ads.
This was the beginning of the streaming service era takeover that so many people today loathe.
Oh boy.
Today, you may feel like you are not as connected to the culture because 1, less people are going to the theaters, and 2, the DVD and TV business has been demolished by streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, etc.
Yeah.
Being able to stream anything, anywhere, anytime, all while being alone in your room means there's no anticipation, no excitement, nobody to share the experience with, and therefore, no real reason to watch.
And the other downside being, like, think of all the streaming services you'd have to subscribe to be able to catch up with everything. Because there are some shows that are just on Netflix, some shows that are just on HBO Max, some shows that are just on Hulu, and so on and so forth. So if you wanted to, like, be truly up to date with all the shows out there and all the movies out there, think about how much that would take from your wallet to just be subscribed to all of those.
Which is why you simply scroll and scroll through endless choices, waiting for something to magically grab your attention, waiting for something to give you a reason to watch, but it just never happens.
Plus, there could be the paralysis of too many options there.
On a lighter note, every now and again, we do have a monoculture moment. I think back to the Barbie movie where girls were excited to dress in all pink and drag their boyfriends to the theaters, only for the guys to immediately after drag their girls to see Oppenheimer, where I'm assuming many of them fell asleep. I think back to Squid Games, where it felt like everyone and their mother
could forget
was
the
blindsided
Barbenheimer
by
era?
this dystopian critique of capitalism disguised as a fucked up game show. As far as films go, it feels like it's only every couple of years where there is a moment that we are all in sync, when it used to be literally all year, every year. I can't even remember the last time music had a monoculture moment. I mean, sure, radio is still kind of relevant. TikTok made popular songs more popular, but there's so much music all over the place all the time that I don't even know what anybody's listening to anymore. For TV, Yellowstone, Severance.
I could not be bothered to see what like every single person out there is listening to. But if there's like music that stands out to me, then I will do like some kind of a deep dive into it if it just stands out that much to me.
White Lotus, Love Island. I mean, they are extremely popular, but can we say everyone is watching those shows?
I'm not.
Will those shows define this era? I bet there are a ton of you watching that are like, I didn't watch a single one of those shows.
Okay, no need to call me out like that.
The irony of it all is that the death of a
Severance was actually really good. Really?
unified culture everyone seems to be feeling came with our pursuit to be more connected than ever before, because the adaptation of the internet and social media into our everyday lives was the nail in the coffin for monoculture. By the turn of the century, everyone with extra cash had a computer somewhere in the house. Our parents were using them to basically replace what the newspaper did for decades. As the desktops and internet connection got faster, we looked at forums, chatted through AOL Instant Messenger, played simple flash games on Newgrounds, and even
on the family computer as well.
Bid on random antiques from eBay. Being connected to random people all over the world was beautiful. You were no longer limited to the thoughts, beliefs, and interests of those in your geographical location.
Imagine having to explain like the recent use of a violent flash game on the family computer. That had to have been a very awkward situation.
Internet was still somewhat difficult to navigate. You know, there was a time when Google didn't have all the answers. You had to check other search engines like Yahoo and my favorite, Ask Jeeves, to find.
Ask Jeeves was a thing? I knew about Yahoo, which was not used as much as Google, but I completely forgot that Ask Jeeves was a thing.
Find what you were looking for. Videos would take forever to load, the quality was often terrible, and sometimes just straight up didn't work. Using the internet kind of felt like exploring uncharted land. That friction, scarcity, and
sometimes
lack of
it still
instant
is, depending on where you
was
go.
what made it special. It was worth working for. Today, we just expect things to work. We demand convenience, and we are willing to give up our human autonomy for it.
Down with convenience. I'm gonna say it right now.
Initially, the entertainment industry as a whole saw the internet as a threat because of...
Well, a certain kind of convenience convenience to a point, I'm against. Let's not make things too easy to the point where they could just pull the rug underneath us.
Piracy. Suddenly, millions of people could
Oh, here we go. This topic.
Download movies, music, and TV shows for free through networks like Napster, LimeWire, and torrent sites, completely bypassing traditional revenue models. Studios, labels, and networks feared the collapse of their business structures, as physical sales and TV deals were at the risk of being replaced. The internet stripped them of control, and for the first time, the consumer had the power to access content without paying a cent.
By the way, piracy is a service issue. Quote Gabe Newell.
From the consumer's perspective, the logic was simple. Why pay for something when you can get it for free instantly?
The things that would have a slight chance of stopping you was if the ISP that you're under would be getting so much emails that they would actually have to take action. I don't know if that has ever happened, but it is the idea of that can be terrifying.
Wasn't just about being cheap, it was about convenience. Buying a CD or DVD meant going to a store, spending 10 to 20 bucks, and hoping you'd like the full album.
Unless you have a VPN.
Album or movie. Then again, people didn't realize the nuanced...
That's just to go with what I was saying earlier.
...value of the additional human experiences they got while consuming entertainment. All that driving to the store, talking to people, limited inventory, sitting on a sticky theater seat, that was all just considered to be an inconvenient cost to getting what you wanted. But you could...
With some of the media going missing, that's another service issue. Because, like, how do I word this? This thing that's also a service issue is when certain shows and movies are just completely gone. Like any DVD of them, any Blu-ray of them, they're just not there either, or they're super hard to find without paying an arm and a leg. Though that's mainly the case with GameCube games, but still, if there are movies and shows that are that hard to find, like just completely gone from anywhere, then yeah, people are going to be driven to piracy. So that is something that, if companies don't want that to happen, you really got to ask yourself what you can do about that, rather than just punish the people that are turning to piracy.
Wouldn't argue against the value that the internet brought to individuals. It gave everyone a voice, a platform, and endless options tailored exactly to their preferences. And that
if I disappear after saying something, after talking about all of that, you know what happened.
Ramped up significantly in 2003 when MySpace became the first widely accepted platform for social media.
At least I have you, Tom.
By 2005, the platform had around 300 million users and had an estimated valuation of over $10 billion. The platform allowed people to share their personal passions and stories as individuals.
That was something that I missed out on because I'm pretty sure I was too young to have a MySpace.
Nobody in your real life aligned with your
I'm so cringe that Tom would unfriend me. Oh, I'm sorry to hear, Six.
Interests, you would be able to find a community of like-minded people online. People started calling random strangers on the internet their friends. They became...
I don't know what to say about that.
Invested in their lives, wanting to know what they were doing in their geographical location. You're connected.
Although we're at a point where it could start with something like that, and the two people will go from that to mutuals to genuine friends. And it's very interesting to see that go the direction that it can.
To random people around the world started to make you disconnected from those physically around you. Slowly, the digital world began to feel more important than the physical one. As platforms evolved, first with Facebook, then Instagram, and eventually TikTok, the focus shifted even further.
I've learned pretty well that long-distance friends are just as legitimate as anyone local to you. Yeah, there are great people out there that are not close by, and great people that are close by, in the same way that there are not so great people out there on the internet very far away, but there are also not great people nearby. So it really comes down to not just whether or not you could trust some person that you met online, it's whether or not you could trust some person that you met. Period. The earth is tiny as heck anyway. Exactly. That Disney ride, they knew what they were singing about.
Away from a shared experience and towards personal branding. Algorithms were designed not to connect people as a whole, but to keep you personally engaged, feeding you content you already agreed with or found entertaining. The internet became less of a town square and more of an echo chamber.
You can go anywhere on Earth within 24 hours if you have money. Distance has become more meaningless over time. Agree. Huge agree.
Reflecting only
Hard
your
agree.
own tastes, beliefs, and biases back at you, just so you wouldn't click off the app. Social media stopped being about community and became a stage where everyone was the main character of their own story. It made individuals feel more powerful than ever, which could be considered a good thing, but it also created a cultural landscape more narcissistic, divisive, and isolated than any era in history. So the reason why movies, TV, YouTube, social media, and literally all other forms of entertainment don't feel the same is a combination of really complicated nuances. However, with a shift in mentality, you could look at all of this as a good thing. If you are a strong-minded individual, introverted, or just someone who doesn't really care about a sense of community and those around you, you are in the golden ages. For
We invented trains not just to do business and be productive. Humankind also universally visiting friends. I wish it was that easy for me to get to a train just to see all the cool people that I know that live very far away from me. universally loves to. Brain typo. I see. You know what we need? We need teleportation to be a thing already. That would save so much trouble with not just visiting each other, but going to cons as well, with how expensive things have been. Or we just need to learn how to, or we just need to find a way to accurately channel Goku's instant transmission. I wish that, it sounds nerdy as heck, but I wish that was a thing. And the people that I know around the world and around the country continue to make me wish that it was real.
Decades, if you didn't fit into the narrow lens of what the mainstream deemed valuable, if you didn't like the biggest pop star, or wear the right clothes, or relate to the 5 TV shows everyone else watched, you were invisible. You had nowhere to go. You were the weird kid, the quiet one, the one who...
You merely adopted the weird kid kind of personality. I was born in that personality, molded by it.
Who didn't belong. But now the internet gives you infinite options to find belonging.
I never did belong in the
interest you
first
may
place.
have, no matter how unique it is, chances are there is a niche community where someone like you isn't just accepted, you're celebrated. Do you like wolves eating watermelons? So do 61,000 other people. Do you
I did not know that was a thing.
like stapling bread to trees? So do
I did not know that was a thing
335,000
either.
other people. Today, a girl who was once mocked in school for drawing anime characters in her notebook.
This is how I celebrate you. Oh. I really got to do something about the throwing system. Actually, let me check one thing. Switch to this screen, see if it can actually... Is it even connected to Twitch? Let me see. Connections. It is not. Let me fix that real quick. Okay. And then switch back to... Oh, wait. Gotta get rid of the overlay. And then back to this tab. Switch back to here. And I'm gonna try seeing if this will actually do it this time. It worked. Thank you for the celebration.
Can become a full-time artist with a fan base of thousands or millions. A kid who was laughed at for making weird songs on his cracked BandLab app can go viral on TikTok and then chart on the Spotify Viral 50. A filmmaker
Yeah, it is crazy
with no
how that can
connections
happen.
and no budget can put their short film on YouTube and have it resonate with millions of people around the world. These stories were impossible in the monoculture era because the gatekeepers decided what was and what wasn't. Before the internet, independence was next to impossible, and today the gatekeepers have less power than ever. So maybe entertainment feels more chaotic, more overwhelming, and less special. Maybe we are no longer all connected under a simple, easy to navigate monoculture, but there is more opportunity than ever for a small independent creator to get a taste of that success. And for consumers, if you know what your interests are and do not let algorithms decide what you want to watch, and are willing to do the tedious task to actively get outside of the echo chamber that these algorithms are trying to hold you in, and find that one quality YouTuber or that one underrated Hulu series, then you are probably completely fine with today's entertainment climate. Build your own world. Who cares about community? This is your life. Now, I personally go back and forth on my
Interesting
feelings
way of
towards the death of
putting that.
monoculture. I don't personally feel drowned out in content. Since I have terrible movie and TV taste, I will watch just about anything as long as there is a decent premise for the plot. As far as music,
I will watch. There will be like some movies that I'll watch that is both good and bad. The good ones I'll watch genuinely. The bad ones I'll watch if I can get a laugh out of them. To Boldly Flee, the Channel Awesome movie, it's bad, and I could not get a laugh out of that until a good friend of mine, Justin, had joined to riff on it, and that saved that night. I will keep talking about this until the day I'm no longer here. He saved that movie viewing, and I'm glad he did, because me and Moma, when we saw that together, they had fallen asleep, and I was just about to be bored out of my mind. So once again, Justin really saved that night.
Goes, I am totally willing to put in the grind to find my new favorite artist, and I'm actually one of those annoying people who kind of starts to dislike someone when they get more famous. So I actively look for underrated talent, and Spotify and social media makes that a million times easier and more convenient.
That sentence has me asking chat, would you still love me if I was famous? I mean, I would hope to not be like super famous. My name has been getting out there a little bit more. But I don't know how I feel about getting, like, extremely famous. That'd be, like, very overwhelming.
But at the same time, I do miss that sense of monoculture. I play a lot of golf, and when I meet new people, I've had countless conversations that lead nowhere because we have absolutely nothing in common due to being stuck in totally different algorithmic echo chambers. Sometimes the golfers don't even watch golf, so I'm just like,
really?
How's the weather? And obviously I'm a creator, so I'm benefiting from
I mean, now that I think about it, it does make sense that some would prefer to play golf rather than watch it.
System that was created for me to succeed. And because of my feelings going back and forth, my channel is somewhat a reflection of the lack of and yearning for an entertainment monoculture. My YouTube channel is kind of like a 2000s MTV inspired hodgepodge of modern pop culture. Firstly,
kind of
I'm
is.
reliable, posting every Monday at 3:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And every week we talk about something pop culture related. Sometimes it's music, sometimes it's film, sometimes it's internet personalities, sometimes it's a comedian, action sports star, politics. The modern YouTube algorithm wants
a lot of
you
different
to keep
things.
making the same video over and over with the same thumbnails and dominate one specific niche, which is why you see so many successful channels being repetitive, because that is literally what works.
I wonder if that's why, like, sometimes when I upload something, with how varied it can be, it'll just sometimes, like, not get much anywhere compared to others. Because I like to experiment, not just stick with one kind of gameplay video highlight collection. Sometimes I'll want to make something like that. Sometimes I'll want to make a video essay now and then. Sometimes I'll want to just make whatever edit comes to mind.
I try to keep a balance, and because of that, some videos get more views than others, some videos bomb, but I hope you enjoy me
sometimes
keeping
that's
that old,
just how it
early
is.
2000s variety. You can come to my channel to keep you updated with modern pop culture and feel some tiny slice of that monoculture we all used to love.
And I
Also,
probably will.
This was kind of a different style of video for my channel. I usually stick to documentaries that are objective and fact-based, but recently I've just kind of been wanting to switch it up a little bit. So I'll be looking at the comments to see what you guys think about this more conceptual or think piece rant type of video. So let me know what you think.
And
Thanks
it's been
for
an
watching,
interesting
and I'll see you
it's
next
been an
Monday.
interesting kind of video that he'd make. All right, next we got why fast food sucks now. I'm interested to hear why that is. But I think I got some kind of idea as to why that may be. But I want to hear what he has to say first.
I'm going to show you a few different modern fast food locations with the logos removed, and I want to see if you can guess which restaurant it is.
I mean, there's like a slight error with that, because you could already see the Panda Express logo on the door. I feel like that has to be a KFC. That might be a McDonald's. I'm not sure what that is, but I completely understand what kind of point he's making here. Corporate locations always have the best tasting food when it comes to chains. Interesting.
Here is number 1. That
Panda
is
Express.
Panda Express.
Yeah, I knew.
Here is number 2.
KFC?
That is Arby's.
Oh, that was Arby's. Because when I think of red and white, I think of KFC. I had no idea that was going to be Arby's.
Here is number 3.
Okay, I have no idea what this could be.
That is Burger King.
That's Burger King? Those colors look nothing like the Burger King colors. It just looks so corporate.
Here is number 4.
McDonald's.
That is Wendy's.
Oh, what? That's a Wendy's? Man, it's really showing how bland the design of a lot of fast food buildings can be. I've made this comparison before, but it's like they took the colorful buildings that the fast food restaurants would have and like a cog from Toontown had taken over and they just turned into cog buildings. I think that's the best possible way of putting that. Because they just look all corporate now when they used to be so colorful and stood out a bit more.
Fast food restaurants in America have completely lost their identity.
I mean, it looks like Taco Bell still had some identity, but yeah, it is completely drowned out by comparison as to how much different it looked back then.
But it doesn't stop at these soulless gray buildings.
Oh, this definitely looks soulless.
Fast food used to be cheap, tasty, and most importantly, fast. And on top of that, the experience used to be fun.
Okay, that looked like a pretty cool looking McDonald's.
Today, the color is gone. The prices for a meal are almost the same as a regular restaurant, and
yeah, so it's like, what would be the point of going there? If it's not fast, if it's not cheap, then why not just order elsewhere?
the service is slower than ever. But
oh, I do not like when the service would be that slow.
This did not happen by accident. In fact, it's all by design. And today I'm going to break down why fast food today is colorless, expensive, and slow. And why
the fact that it looked like it was in a foggy area right there did not help that.
While it might sound like all hope is lost, there is something you can do to change it. And if enough of us do that, we just might be able to return to the glory days.
Maybe.
Modern
Just
American
maybe.
fast food buildings are the perfect representation of the soul that's been sucked out of the industry. What used to be these
I'm telling you,
creative
cog buildings.
architectural fun.
Okay, that looks so cool. I may not be the biggest fan of Burger King, but that design looks pretty cool.
Houses have transformed into sterile gray boxes that are severely lacking identity. Some of them kind of look like modern homes, some of them look like banks, some of them just look like corporate offices.
They really do look like corporate offices.
But when you remove the logo, you genuinely could not tell what restaurant it was. Compare that to
I'm telling
what
you,
this
cog
architectural
buildings.
illustrator posted on Reddit. Even without the logos, you can still tell which building belongs to each fast food brand. Or can you? I'll see if in the comments one of you gets all 12 correct. Early Taco Bell locations were designed to evoke.
There's something pleasing about how this Taco Bell looks. I really like this design. Why'd they have to... They even got a bell right there. It fits so well with the theme.
The look and feel of traditional Spanish and Mexican style architecture. The original buildings featured stucco walls, red clay tile roofs, exposed wooden beams, and arched entryways. Now,
And a bell.
you get a gray box
Why'd
with
you
a
not
modern
mention the
purple
bell?
LED light. Pizza Hut's red roof.
And meanwhile, the modern day ones don't even have a bell, just on the logo.
Roof became such an iconic part of their design that now when a new business takes over the building and attempts to redesign, everyone knows it used to be a Pizza Hut. But
Yep.
today's Pizza Hut, yep, another gray box.
Couldn't tell you what that building originally was.
McDonald's used to have these big glowing arches you could see from a mile away. I was surprised to find out that there are still a few locations that maintain that 1960s vintage look.
They do? Okay, I may not eat McDonald's very much, but I would still be curious to see one of those McDonald's.
Take this Bloomington, Minnesota location for example. It's
Chat, I want to go to Minnesota all of a sudden.
still has the massive arches on each side, the red and white striped bricks around the edges, and red outline gives it this cartoonish but welcoming vibe. But sometime in 2023, they decided to get rid of all that charm and paint it gray. During McDonald's nationwide boom
That
in
just
the
looks sad.
1970s, they made a major rebrand to build locations faster.
This
the
I
red
accept.
mansard roofs with the yellow accents that
Not as cool as the arch, not as cool as the 50s or 60s design, or the 60s design, but I like how creative this looks. Honestly, greedy and lazy franchise owners can be blamed for running these uniquely housed businesses into the ground. These buildings need to be able to be repurposed because of the woes of capitalism. We just need to go to the one place that isn't corrupted by capitalism. Space!
were supposed to resemble French fries is what most people remember visiting throughout their childhood.
I didn't even realize that those yellow parts of the roof would be representing the French fries. That makes so much sense now.
There are still a few locations out there that haven't been modernized. This one in Dunedin, Florida looks absolutely beautiful with the
Although the fries are a little bit white.
palm trees and the bright blue sky. Or
I do like the palm trees though. That's a nice touch.
check out this stunning Durham, North Carolina location.
Ooh.
This photo was taken in 2021, but it looks like we took a time machine back to 1990.
This was 2021? Okay, cool. They still have these.
Sadly, this one was also painted entirely gray in 2024.
Oh no. Not another one gone. Oh, what's this one?
Even this location outside of Disney World looked like a theme park of its own, and I'm sad to admit that this creative masterpiece has been replaced by what looks like a corporate headquarters.
They took
now,
another
one. Of the main
one.
reasons behind the gray
The
box
cogs
trend
took
is that
over.
it's a safer, smarter real estate investment. This strategy leans heavily on modular construction and prefab standardized architecture. When a
You could ask me if this was a fast food restaurant or a bank, and I could not tell you.
previous brand needed a very specific build out, which usually came down to their custom roofs.
White Castle I can only associate with Impractical Jokers because of that moment where Q was like, "Good morrow, sir! Welcome to the Castle of White!" I've never actually had their food, but that's the only thing I can associate White Castle with.
It just costs more, and in a way, they're also preparing for their imminent failure.
Also because I don't know of a nearby White Castle.
Because these vague buildings can be transformed into just about any other business. In New Jersey, this Wendy's was transformed into a Burger King. In Missouri, this old Burger King was turned into a Wendy's.
They're just way too interchangeable, and I don't like that.
This former Taco Bell KFC combo was turned into a local pharmacy.
Really? A pharmacy of all things?
And this former Arby's is now a local pizzeria. And
okay, that is understandable.
to no surprise at all, the local pizzeria made a more charming and visually interesting design. Now my favorite is when
I like that. I like that change that they made.
Chains actually do the opposite of this when they repurpose an old building, like this old bank in Wilmington, North Carolina that was transformed into a Dunkin' Donuts.
They really just turned a bank into a Dunkin' Donuts. Crazy.
It's undeniably smarter and probably more sustainable to build buildings that can outlive the brand inside them, which will in turn reduce waste and provide opportunity to future businesses. But there's just something sad about it too. Each restaurant lost all its character, but it's not just the exterior that lost its character. The interior is where many of these places thrived.
Oh, I remember layouts like this. These were so pleasing to look at when I was younger.
Inside used to feel like entering a little world of its own. Taco Bell had these purple and teal Art Deco chairs, textured wall tiles, and neon squid.
There was one time I went to a dispensary in Boston that was established in what was formerly a bank. They really do just be turning banks into fast food restaurants. The architecture was really old-timey and nice. I'm kind of curious to see that.
Wiggles that felt like walking through a 90s arcade. People today would probably call this tacky, and they might not be wrong, but damn, it has an identity. Wendy's
tacky, but it stood out nonetheless. And I would have preferred if it was tacky over colorless.
Had an immaculate 1970s grandma aesthetic. Wood-paneled walls, stained glass lamps hanging above every...
I just remembered I went there with Jabroni Mike. Oh, Adhill. Okay, I will switch to this layout in the meantime, and I will give you some time to finish with the ad, and as soon as that is over with, then I'll switch back to the video viewing screen, because I want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to continue along with us. Because I know not everyone is able to bypass the ads with a sub or a Twitch Turbo. So I want to give everyone the chance to like be able to go along with us without the ads getting in the way. So I don't know why that. I've got to make sure to set up an ad manager to know when the ads are coming on, just so I can make sure to know when to pause the thing. I used to have like a program for letting me know when the ads would come on, but I don't know. Okay, we back. That means I can continue the video.
Table, plush burgundy booths, and soft yellow lighting that made it feel more like a cozy living room than a fast food joint.
This
And these
has so much
sunrooms?
character
Dude,
to
these
it.
sunrooms absolutely ripped. Pizza Hut felt like a legit sit-down restaurant with
I think I've been to a Pizza Hut like this before. Or it was some kind of pizza restaurant that was like this.
thick carpeting, red vinyl booths, and those iconic Tiffany-style lamps that turned every meal into a dimly lit occasion. McDonald's had burger seats. Look at these burger seats. Are they a little
What the heck are those burger seats?
terrifying? Sure, but I think we can all agree that we want them back. And when management started encouraging a more kid-friendly atmosphere, almost every franchisee built massive playgrounds and indoor sets packed with massive tubes.
Oh, I've definitely been in a place like that before. I would sit on the burger. Wait, let me go back to...
Every franchisee built massive playgrounds and indoor sets packed...
I've definitely been in a McDonald's that had, like, this kind of structure right here. Man, that took me back.
With massive tubes, nets, and ball pits to play in while the adults got...
Okay, I don't think we had a ball pit, though. There were, like, a few... We might have had a ball pit, but... I don't remember. I've been to some places with the ball pit, but I don't think they were fast food restaurants.
Got to enjoy their meal. However, for years, McDonald's had been dealing with injury lawsuits where kids hurt themselves climbing around rope ladders and monkey bars.
Oh, please tell me that the ball pit left them okay. Oh wait, I just remembered pink eye is a thing. Never mind.
5-year span alone from 1986 to 1991, 1,500 injury claims were filed against McDonald's when kids fell off their equipment or got trapped in one of their structures. Hundreds, if not thousands of injuries went unreported, and not to mention the sanitation concerns. Even as a kid, I knew those things were filthy. Some places have still tried to hang on to that old school charm well into the 2020s. I found this 1950s retro diner-inspired McDonald's location in Williamsburg, Virginia. They have a whole ass 1957 Chevy on the inside just parked in the middle of the restaurant. This beautiful time capsule location was,
they got a jukebox,
you guessed it, grayed out and turned into another modernized hospital cafeteria a few years ago. A location in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn was redesigned to a 1980s theme for a Marvel movie, and to no surprise at all, everyone loves it. And even though it still doesn't look like a true time capsule, it's just enough retro and modern combined to give the place a lot more
really
soul.
like the vibes
If you're
of
watching this and you have a fast food location near you that still has some old school charm, drop it in the comments because I want to see. But the blueprint for the modern
I gotta look through the
fast
comments
food gray
after
box,
this.
the minimalism, the neutral tone textured wallpaper, the IKEA chairs that hurt to sit in, the inoffensive abstract art, the dim industrial lighting, it can all be blamed on Chipotle. Chipotle's early 2000s expansion.
Am I gonna have a problem with Chipotle?
Expansion marked a turning point in the fast food industry. Their concept was called...
They've already gotten like slightly more expensive, so if they are to blame for this, they're on thin ice. Have you seen the non-standard McDonald's Twitter account? I don't think I have.
Fast casual. You still got your food quickly, but the experience felt more elevated. The menu was simple, the ingredients were marketed as fresher, and the interiors ditched the kid-friendly chaos in favor of something more modern.
This is a mixed bag for me because I really do like having Chipotle now and then, but I do not like how plain the layout looks for a lot of their buildings. And if they are completely responsible for other restaurants doing this kind of thing, we're gonna have some problems. They document these unique locations. I gotta look into this account.
Because of this, they were able to charge a higher price, and teenagers, college kids, and young professionals were more than willing to pay. But they weren't just paying for vibes. Those 2010s Chipotle burritos were massive.
This is really making me want one of those burritos or burrito bowls. It's tempting me. It's tempting me.
used to get at least 2 servings of food for one price, which made it comparable to 2 fast food trips. Chipotle's success came at a time when McDonald's and other giants were on a rapid decline. In 2003, McDonald's stock price fell to a 9-year low,
I'll
and
look
in
into that.
Q4 of 2023 was the first net loss in profits they ever had, losing $344 million. Public pressure around junk food intensified during this period. The Super Size Me documentary
Oh boy. This documentary. Remember when this was all over the place? It didn't have like a lot of the most accurate facts out there. No, I agree, Six. Morgan Spurlock was... He was something. I could tell you that much.
further tarnished the company's brand. The doc followed Morgan Spurlock, who ate at McDonald's restaurants 3 times a day, every day for a month, consuming every item on the chain's menu at least once. At the end of the experiment, the 32-year-old had gained 24.5 pounds, a 13% body mass increase, increased his cholesterol to dangerous levels, and became the proof the media needed to paint fast food as the face of America's obesity crisis.
But the big problem with this is he didn't accurately track the amount of calories that he was consuming, or that was not logged correctly. And he would supersize anything when he would be asked for it. That, of course, would be a big factor to this. And of course the alcoholism that was behind the scenes. So the alcoholism combined with the fact that he was not tracking his calories when he could have been, if he put his mind to it, he could have been eating in a deficit or at maintenance, and he still would have been mostly fine had he included some fruits and vegetables and the macronutrients that he would have needed. That's a big problem. That's a big problem that I have with that particular documentary. Just the lack of... Yeah, he was so disingenuous. That's the other big thing. The alcoholism, the fact that he was just disingenuous, and it just went against the laws of thermodynamics. Of course, he was also just neglecting most fruits and vegetables, apart from like lettuce from a Big Mac, maybe.
So while McDonald's scrambled to repair its image, Chipotle was thriving, offering a cleaner, simpler, healthier experience that looked and felt like the opposite of everything fast food had become. In response, McDonald's started the Forever Young campaign to transform the playground feel into a cafe-style space. What resulted was a push for a more contemporary aura, accented by terracotta, olive, and gray colors paired with wooden furniture. Of course, other fast food restaurants saw this change and followed suit. I also believe that the success of Starbucks and maybe even the Apple Store had a big impact on the aesthetics of fast food
what did
chains.
the Apple Store do?
Starbucks proved that people would pay a premium price to hang around in a space that felt upscale.
I haven't been to Starbucks many times, but I do like the layout of this.
And Apple taught the entire retail world that an ultra-minimalist design could signal trust and quality. Today,
I don't know about that. I've been to an Apple Store, and as much as I respect the minimalist approach for the design, I just kind of get bored from looking at the layout.
seemingly every fast food chain takes a little bit of inspiration from Chipotle, Starbucks, and the Apple Store, which has majorly contributed to them losing what made them special in the first place.
Not the jukebox.
Fast food restaurants were meant to be bold, fun, and kid-friendly, or even calm and cozy sit-downs for the family. But designers Lynn Rosenbaum and Michael Muchoff told the YouTube channel Cheddar that the design choices are nothing more than a marketing tactic.
We have to be perceived.
Yeah, of course it would be a
new
marketing
and
tactic.
fresh and offering food that is new and fresh.
Man, I want that salmon right now.
Within our restaurant, we want to communicate that to the customer on the outside, and the easiest way to do that is through architecture and interior design.
How can we make it look healthier, but not actually make it healthier? That's basically
True.
the gist. I don't think any logical person is expecting fast food to be healthy, but the risk used to be worth the reward. Because beyond the building design and modern branding, it seems like they aren't even trying to make the food look or taste good anymore. The burgers aren't even close to as advertised, with buns flat as a pancake and lettuce that looks like
yeah,
the
the
burgers aren't even...
presentation. Look at that. What they're meant to look like. And then there's what they actually look like. Yep.
Close to as advertised, with buns flat as a pancake and lettuce that looks like it was left out all night. Places like KFC refuse to change the oil in their fryers, so you...
What? That's kind of disgusting. No, it is disgusting.
Can't even taste the chicken anymore. And
you can't even taste the chicken anymore. Good grief, KFC.
Those so-called crispy fries you ordered look like they were defrosted, placed under a heat lamp, and...
That's illegal. It cannot be store policy. Huh. This video might be a little sensationalist. Maybe.
Served without anyone noticing they missed a crucial step. Even legendary YouTuber The Report of the Week, who has spent the past decade reviewing fast food menu items, just about had a meltdown over the decline in quality and service across every big chain in the US after countless bad experiences in 2023.
Instances not as bad as this, but where there have been problems with my order, with the quality, it's just elapsing more and more. And it's not just Culver's. It's every place. McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Taco Bell, you name it. There have been so
not exactly getting zero Morgan Spurlock vibes off of this. That's fair.
many places, and I'm sure you've noticed this, that I've reviewed in the last couple years, where the food has just been awful. It's quite frankly disgusting. I hate when this happens, and what bothers me even more is when it's becoming more and more of the norm.
His disappointment was immeasurable, and his day was ruined.
When I'm trying out these sorts of items, and time and again, it's some burnt piece of garbage. It's some just vile slop, for lack of a better word. And it's getting to the point now where pretty much every other item that I review is just, it's disgusting in some way or another. Or it's just so overpriced that it might be alright, but it's like you're burning your money. What's even the point?
But even if...
I feel like this, maybe that's not the case for a lot of all the places out there. The quality, I imagine, could be quite variable among the different places. Like, there's that kind of thing with the ghost kitchens.
Fast food companies lost the fun, lost the undeniable guilty pleasure taste. At least it's still cheap, right? Nope. Chick-fil-A are...
No, definitely not cheap. Not as cheap as they once were.
Arby's, Wendy's, Jimmy John's, Chipotle, Taco Bell, Popeyes, and McDonald's all raised their prices by 55 to 100% between 2014 and 2024. Most of us can remember a time where $5 could fill you up at most restaurants. Maybe you'd snag a couple of grillers or a fill-up box from Taco Bell, a McDouble, McChicken, and fries, a famous bowl from KFC, and even if you wanted to get full meals, you'd still spend less than $10. What I found...
Fast food in my area is nearly unanimous great quality. I think a lot of people got to get to that area then, if they want the consistent good quality.
Shocking is that Columbus, Ohio has the...
Which I'm not going to say which area that is, because I don't want to dox you.
...most affordable fast food in the country, but meals still cost $10 on average. Most cities average $12 to $13 for a fast food meal, and I can say with certainty, at least where I live, that there are plenty of local restaurants serving way better food for
Okay. You know, I guess that's true. I didn't dox like the... There wasn't like an exact town mentioned. I've been open about like what state I've been in, just not what town.
$18. Some McDonald's locations were charging as high as $18 for a Big Mac meal. In 2024, the McDonald's president Joe Erlinger attempted to address many of the concerns that Americans had with McDonald's prices significantly rising. What's funny is that they made this graphic that claims to debunk a bunch of myths, while claiming that the facts state that they have only raised their prices by 20 to 40% since 2019.
That's still quite a bit, really.
They put this obnoxious claim as a myth. McDonald's medium fries increased by 138%, just to attempt to soften the blow when they say that the fact is that the average price of a medium fries was a 44% increase. Like we're supposed to be like, oh, only a 44% increase for fries that are soggy, cold, and take 20 minutes to get? Ah, that's so much better than 138%. The reality is that fast food has entirely changed its value proposition to customers in America. It's no longer about being cheap, it's about being lazy. A professor of marketing at Johns Hopkins said, these chains are not charity organizations. They're not trying to serve cheap food to people who are complaining.
Cold? Well, not when you buy them, Morgan 2. Morgan 2 is crazy.
About high prices. They're trying to get people who have either stopped going to the store or never went there. I suspect the value pricing approach is working for McDonald's. Okay. So, they killed the vibes, ruined the taste, charged way too much money. Is it at least still fast? Well, kinda. The speed of service has drastically decreased as Americans become more dependent on the drive-thru. America runs on urgency. Our cities are built to drive around, not stop and hang out.
Yeah,
our work weeks are packed, our commutes are long, and our breaks are short. Everything in our culture tells us to move faster, work more, and consume more. So we designed an entire meal experience.
That part of the culture I'm not a big fan of.
Around not having to stop moving. Pull up in your car, order before you speak to a person, get your food in a brown bag, and don't even look inside until you're already merging onto the highway.
I will say the last time that I've been to a drive-thru, I wasn't the one driving or ordering, but my brother was on the way to, I don't remember which place it was, but it was a nearby, I don't remember which place it was, but it had a drive-thru that was nearby, and they had like the window that you, well, not the window, but like the speaker box that you tell your order to, and it was one of those AI generated ones, and I could see that there was so much trouble from it trying to understand what he was ordering, and I'm pretty sure that must have been a bit irritating for him to deal with, because that bot just did not understand. Also, I've literally worked drive-thrus. Please look in your bag to see if it's right before pulling away. I don't want that on my conscience. Exactly. Also, I will never understand why fast food restaurants will go with an AI taking order when there's like a lot of flaws that could be there. Like, you could misunderstand quite a lot of things, or just ask if you want this to go along with that. But then again, I'm pretty sure like any employee would ask that. But the misunderstanding thing, the AI misunderstanding some things would happen more frequently than a human misunderstanding some things.
And stuff the fries down your throat with one hand while the other is on the wheel. Drive-thrus aren't about convenience. They're a survival mechanism for a society that doesn't have time to sit down. But now even that convenience is starting to collapse. What used to be a 3 to 5 minute pit stop has turned into a 15+ minute wait behind a line of frustrated drivers. Even places like
I would not like to
facing
be in a
major
drive-thru line
problems
for
with lines that literally cause traffic on the highways next to them. Pretty much every Chick-fil-A I've ever been to around lunchtime has 2 rows of 20+ cars bumper to bumper. Many locations are trying to combat these frustrating wait times by having staff walk around with iPads so you can get that somewhat satisfaction that your order is being taken care of, but it doesn't make the food come out any faster. Now you might think that removing drive-thrus in some locations or incentivizing walk-ins would somehow speed things up, but fast food restaurants have done their homework. Research shows that 47% of US consumers would simply avoid going to a store that doesn't have a drive-thru, and twice as many people prefer using the drive-thru to going in store. And that's because of the American go culture, as well as us not prioritizing eating as a meaningful experience. It's just another task to check off the list. Meals in other countries are a cultural staple, a time to slow down, talk, share, and connect.
Okay, admittedly, I'm pretty guilty of being a fast eater. The appetite drives me crazy, what can I say?
treat eating as something you do out of necessity between meetings, in traffic, or while staring at your phone. And I'm talking to you, who's literally eating a meal while watching this right now.
But I'm not, though. Somebody probably is. At this hour, it's not unlikely, but not me.
The obsession with quick service, combined with fast food's obsession with margins, is slowly turning these restaurants into massive robotic garages, like this concept released by Taco Bell in 2022 for their new vision.
Okay, I kind of like how this looks, though. Yeah, I'm snacking. Keep walking. What are you looking at? Yeah, I'm enjoying a meal at this hour. What do you want from me?
For making service easier than ever before.
I really like the purple lighting, though.
Or the new designs Chick-fil-A is rolling out that prioritize quick service, or Jimmy John's cutting down the size of their restaurant to resemble more of a studio apartment.
Okay, interesting pick for a design. Also, I've never been to a Jimmy John's before, but I've been curious of when they had that pickle sandwich. Like, not like sandwich with pickle in it, but like the bread was just straight up one big pickle.
To make it even more streamlined, restaurants are releasing AI menu stands that...
Oh, not the AI menu stands. Like I mentioned before, this is a pain to deal with.
Replace human staff members, and the
Jimmy John's is real solid, good quality. I haven't been to a Jimmy John's because like where I'm at, they don't really have one. But I'm so curious to try a sandwich from there.
Responses have been mixed, with some customers praising the decision and others arguing this is one step further in the wrong direction.
I'm with the latter, 100%.
So correct orders and no more attitudes for no reason?
I don't know about that. Maybe the no more attitudes, but correct orders. That's not just a human error. That can happen with. I'm pretty sure that can happen with AI too.
More jobs with human contact are going away, with fast food restaurants doing everything they can to make service seamless.
You always give the AI order taker the 55 burgers routine. I've never heard of that. But that sounds like an interesting idea.
Seamless, and Americans demanding even more convenience? How far away are we from a robotic arm extending from a building and just dumping the food right into our mouths?
I'm telling you, convenience can sometimes be scary with how much it can take over.
But as grim as the future looks, there is a way to fight this. There is a way to demand change, get better quality food, better prices, better speeds, and an all-around better experience. The solution is quite simple, and it's being implemented all over the world.
Yeah.
Fast food is better outside of America, not just...
Oh, we're having this topic now.
By opinion, but by design. Many nations have stricter regulations on food quality, preservatives, and sourcing. In places like Japan, France, or Germany, the ingredients are often fresher, the portions are more balanced, and the presentation is far more respectful of the dining experience. But this change didn't necessarily happen out of respect, it was by force. Like in France, when 5 activist farmers tore down a McDonald's that was being built in the southern town of Malau in August 1999. They handed out Roquefort cheese at the protest, which they said was to denounce U.S. import restrictions and hormone-treated.
I don't know why I said that so weirdly, but really, Roquefort cheese at the protest. Interesting.
Beef. But this was a calculated attack. In that same week, French farmers dumped 6 tons of manure on a McDonald's restaurant in Arles. This was a symbol of resistance against American food imperialism and the spread of unhealthy, standardized meals. And it wasn't just about the food, they were defending culture, agriculture, and tradition. And it worked. French consumers began demanding locally sourced ingredients, and McDonald's responded. Today, around 75% of the food served in McDonald's France is sourced domestically. Now, this doesn't mean
France did something cool.
Your local McDonald's, but it is proof that a protest goes a long way. Also, McDonald's Europe
Sometimes
became the first food service retailer in many markets to sell Marine Stewardship Council certified sustainable fish. The MSC is widely considered the gold standard certification for sustainable wild-caught seafood. food. Because if they did not meet these standards, then European countries would simply not allow them to serve fish. In India, they mostly don't serve beef or pork items due to religious values held by the citizens.
That makes sense.
In China, they serve taro pies. Taro is a plant native to Southeast Asia whose
Taro
roots
pies.
and leaves are used for food in this region. In Saudi Arabia, 100% of their menu must be halal. Therefore, all products served at McDonald's restaurants are inspected and approved by local authorities and Islamic inspectors at the countries of export. The point is, McDonald's and other fast food restaurants will abide by socio-cultural, religious, food preferences, and environmental factors, or they will simply not be allowed to serve food in that country. And they might even complement the country with a vibey atmosphere. They'll serve food in decommissioned planes in New Zealand.
No way. Is that like a restaurant inside of a plane? I have a lot of respect for designs like that are that unique. Oh, what's this one?
Pagoda in China, or a ski up in Sweden. The end result: better service, better food, better vibes, and customers who treat eating as something worth sitting down for.
Okay, I've never been there, so I wouldn't know whether or not the service or the food is better there, but I really like the unique designs they have.
All of these point to the fact that fast food restaurants can still be colorful, fun, cheap, and have the best quality food available for their meals. It's just that they only change when people finally start to walk away. This is not the answer you want, but it is the truth. Sure,
it's
the
like
buildings
with your
are
money.
gray and bland. Sure, the service is slow. Sure, the food doesn't taste as good, and corporate greed is driving up the price. But you can protest. You can just stop going, and they will be forced to resort back to the things that made these restaurants special in the first place. But until most of us refuse to order from these fast food restaurants, then nothing is going to change.
I mean, even then, I haven't really gone to as many fast food restaurants as much, because a lot of the time, if I'm able to make lunch and dinner at home, I usually will default to that. But if I'm like out and about, then if I'm at a mall with a Taco Bell at the food court, I'll be like, yeah, you get a Cantina chicken bowl from Taco Bell. Or if there's like a Subway there, yeah, I could like make my own, well, not make my own, but like order the different parts of a sandwich that I want, like go for a specific sandwich. Yeah, this has been like quite an interesting series of videos, even if like there were quite a bit of flaws. Some things like I'll agree with, some things I'll be like, I'm not so sure about that, but it seems like this guy has some interesting content. And with that being said, I think that'll be it for tonight. We can all agree the enemy of all enemies is corporate greed. Facts. Absolute facts. But yeah, that'll be the end of tonight's stream. Thank you to those that have joined whenever possible. If you want to keep up to date with what I do, I tend to stream under the name JPS Freak on YouTube and Twitch at least 2 to 3 times a week. I also have a Twitter and a Blue Sky, and if you are just finding this out, I want to make sure to address this before. I want to make sure to address this before I announce it on Twitter tomorrow, but for those that are in the Discord, tomorrow we'll be having a watch together of the second Alvin and the Chipmunks movie, also known as Alvin and the Chipmunks: The Squeakquel. That is going to be something to rewatch. But yeah, other than that, let me just check one thing real quick. Oh, immediately I got an ad for Twitch Turbo. Let's see. But yeah, other than that, I will see you all very soon. Have a good night, everyone.